I am your C3. I am your man.
This guy continues and continues to amaze me.
I'm the greatest wrestler in the world.
I'm pretty sure Ishii is held together by cement.
I wasn't supposed to win championships and get to the top of every company I've ever walked into, but I have.
This has to be one of the greatest matches I've ever watched in my life.
Because the Bullet Club, we rule the world.
Did I see with my very own eyes little Dean Ambrose walk up to the beast incarnate, get all up in his face, and then live to tell the story? I thought I saw that. Things aren't getting soft in Suplex City, are they?
I guess we'll find out at WrestleMania, won't we?
Looking forward to it.
So am I. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Vieser.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling Max episode 181, and we are presented to you by the W2M Network and in partnership with Last Word on Sports.com and 411mania.com, and of course we are the Every Wrestling Fan Podcast. Gary, take it away.
All right, guys. Well, here we are. We are ready for another great show. You know, even if we talk over each other, it's going to be a good one, I hope, right?
What happened was that I had not unmuted you. And that's why I was like, oh, whoops.
Hey, you know, technical difficulties are always due to at the beginning of the show. So we are here to talk all politics all the time. We're going to talk about the president a little bit. Oh, no, we're not.
You can take those Iowa caucuses and shove them up somewhere else.
Oh, thank God. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I'm interested in how the country is going to be going. If you're an American citizen, that's what it is. If you're listening to us from another part of the world, trust me, we know you care. And halfway, sometimes we don't care here because it's all going to end up whatever.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk about the world of wrestling. There's a ton of stuff out there to talk about. We have a lot of shows to cover today. Just to give you a sneak preview, we're going to definitely talk about some new deals in place. ROH got one of their guys back in a restricted contract. Not only that, we've also seen some people get injured. We're going to mention a few of these injuries from different companies. They're kind of significant at points. We're going to get into some of those. Plus, a WWE Hall of Famer has a autobiography, and this person also wants to do a porn movie with another ex-WWE star. So we'll get into that.
We had to put that in the headline? Seriously?
I want to because there's people who want to know this kind of information. Plus, lots of better stuff out there.
Plus, this wouldn't be an episode of W2M without us mentioning Sunny. I mean, let's just be honest at this point, guys.
Paul gave it away. That's okay. Trust me. There's
plus there's other sad things that aren't sad in that way.
And we're going to save it to then because I want the intro to be depressing. So we're going to move on, and we're going to let you guys know we are going to talk about Monday Night Raw, all that entailed there, plus NXT this week. We saw some stuff go down there that's going to be really intriguing to the future of NXT. And we're going to get into some Lucha Underground. That's right. This next week episode, we got the debut over with. Now we get the second episode. We're going to get into everything entailed in that episode. Plus, we got Ring of Honor and TNA Impact, and those are show reviews. We are going to actually do another preview today. We're actually going to be doing New Beginnings, and that's the day 2 of that, getting into all that entails with that show. And of course, we're going to be talking about Nakamura. He just had his go home or go bye-bye show. I don't don't know what you want to call that. He's leaving New Japan, and so we're going to get into his leaving and how that went over in New Japan. And don't forget, we have to crown a superstar of the week. We have lots of crazy, awesome stuff to talk about today. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. But before we get into all the wrestling, we do have to stop. This is Super Bowl week, guys, and I know we don't really talk, football a lot.
And once again, if you're not from America, you probably don't give two craps about what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. But we're only going to spend like a couple minutes. Trust me. Just give us this. Let us indulge as Americans. We would do it if it was your football team. So, and that's But Paul, your Broncos are part of the Super Bowl. You've got to be ecstatic and excited about
it. Yes, I am. And I'm really just hoping it's not the same performance we put in against Seattle. So, anything better than that. That's where I'm at. And preferably the W, but...
Exactly. And maybe I think when we end this show tonight, and as long as I remember, I want to get your score. I'm not going to ask you right now, but when we close the show out, we're going to get your prediction on what you think is going to happen on Super Bowl Sunday. We may even alter our predictions out there. But, I just hope that this Sunday doesn't turn out like the last time the Broncos were in the Super Bowl. And that's because my daughter had to go to the ER that night, and she was only, I don't know if she was a year old yet. And so I watched that Super Bowl in the ER. That wasn't fun. So hopefully that doesn't happen this year. But Sean, I know there's lots of things going on in your world, and lots of cool stuff going on. What's going on with you Super Bowl weekend? What are you doing?
Well, hopefully, I'll be able to watch the game. I don't know if I'll be working that morning and then have to come home and watch it or whatever. Brandon was playing around with the idea of doing the ravel for it. I was like, no. I kind of want to just watch the game and not have to be, calling it and whatever. And then if it's a boring game, you got to do the whole thing. And but yeah, my kid is not old enough to understand what that is, and my mom could give two craps about football, so I'll be watching it by myself. But hey, you know what? I enjoy watching it because I can just sit there and focus and write it down because we got to do a post show afterwards. So I got to be ready for that anyway.
That's right. We do have our football post show for the Super Bowl, and that is going to be a lot of fun. And of course, I think very intriguing. And I'm hoping that if Broncos do win, I hope we do get a call from Paul because it is going to be super special. Even if it's just a 2-minute call, I hope he gets a chance to call in.
It'll be like, whoa! That's the call.
Is that Ric Flair? Paul? I don't know. We'll get more into the Super Bowl stuff at the end of the show. We want to definitely give our scores, but we're running to the end because, hey, we've got other stuff to talk about right now. So let's don't delay any further. Let's go ahead and jump into some big wrestling news this week. We got a lot of it, so let's go ahead and do this, guys. Let's get into some quick hits.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
Go ahead.
All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and start with something that, to me is very sad. And, I hate to start these things off sad, but I kind of want to start on a somber note that we can build to some more maybe uplifting things possibly. But we found out the news that sadly Axel Rotten has left us, and honestly, too early. He was at the age of 44, which is crazy to me because, I'm in my 30s, early 30s, but still 44 doesn't seem so far away. And this guy was definitely a big ECW legend. People knew him for, just all the violence and all the different things that he put his body through and all the sacrifice he did for the fans. And people loved him, especially, people were, in that time period who loved ECW. He was there from 93 to 99. And this guy, had some health issues. Probably from his violent days. He had a spine issue, which really, kept him down. He was in a wheelchair for a while. And, he also had Bell's palsy, which we know Jim Ross has. So he was dealing with that. Just all these issues compounded on each other. And, the sad news of him passing away in a motel room, it is just very depressing. You see guys that you watch for a long time and just to see that they're gone at this early age, it's kind of a I don't know, heart wrenching, but it's also kind of a shock. You're like, wow. I mean, Paul, how do you feel about that?
Heart goes out to the family, of course, because this is never easy. Especially like you said, 44 is really really young. This day and age, at least feels like now. And he was, he may not have been the most technically sound wrestler or even the best wrestler, but the man knew how to tell a story in the ring. Him and Ian had a tremendous tape fist match in ECW that I remember. Him and Spike as a tag team were fun. He was one of those mid-card guys in ECW who just knew what they were doing. Him and Balls Mahoney, sure swinging freaks. Great stuff. And somebody's going to be sadly missed.
I unfortunately, I watch CCW here and there. I don't have a big connection with it, as I talked about on the Wrestling on a Wrap that they did a ECW Guilty as Charged 2001, and so I know Axel Rotten a little bit, but I have watched very few matches and stuff like that of his.
Yeah, and I think there are those people out there kind of like you, Sean, and I'm a little bit limited in my knowledge. I've watched some ECW over the years, and I do remember him. But if you do remember him, you did watch a lot of ECW. This is a tough day. If you're like Sean and I, where we don't have a whole lot of history with him, it's definitely sad. But you really have to go back and look into the vault and really understand what he was all about. And it's just a sad day when you have a guy who was a talent that really did impact the business and pass away. And we're also having to deal with some other sad news this week, and this is news that you never want to hear, especially out of a giant legend that this guy is. But Bret Hart found out that he has prostate cancer, and he's dealing with that right now, and he revealed it to the world this past week. This is something, Sean, that you understand that these guys are going to deal with, and you oftentimes look at these guys as bigger than they are. You think of guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart, they're 10 feet tall, and these are just legends because you grew up watching them as a kid. And when they're dealing with something like this, it's like, wow, these people really are human. And your heart goes out to them because you spend a lot of time caring about these people. What did you think about when you heard the news of Bret Hart?
Oh, it sucks. I was much more a Shawn Michaels fan than a Bret Hart fan, to be honest, but he's still one of the greatest to ever, lace up a pair of boots, and it's sad. It sucks to hear. He has family that's still wrestling in WWE today, and he's a huge part of WWE's history, and, the good thing about prostate cancer is that it's very common, and if you can get it early, it seems like his they caught his early, whereas Bruce, when he got his had already spread to his hip. So his is a little bit more dire, whereas Bret seems to be kind of early, and they can catch it, and maybe with surgery they can take care of it, and it's good news more than bad news. But, just hearing about anything cancer always sucks,
It's very true, and something that sort of struck me a lot closer than I thought I was going to. Whenever I got into wrestling, Bret Hart was the top babyface on the rise, and Shawn Michaels was still a heel. And admittedly, I come to love Shawn Michaels too, but Bret Hart was really the guy who I think got me into wrestling. And when you have, somebody who, when you were 5, like Gary was saying, was 10 feet tall and could really do no wrong, starting to go through this kind of thing, it just sort of breaks your heart. And my heart goes to him and the entire Hart family. And don't leave, Bret. 2016 is enough already.
Yeah. It has, with all the deaths, and not only in wrestling, but rock and roll.
He's still relatively a young man too, so.
Yeah, what, 52 or something?
Yeah, he's not like where what's going on with Blackjack Mulligan, where he's a lot older and
Yeah. Where Mulligan's had lots of health issues, and he's much older, like you're saying, so you kind of expect, not that you want it to happen, but you expect it. Guys like Bret Hart, they are getting up there, but they're not that old. And
well, he had the thing with his stroke too.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah,
you know.
that is true. That had complications as well. So, like I was saying, best wishes to the Hart family. Our hearts really do go out to them, and of course to the the family of Axel Rotten. Some sad quick hits, but we wanted to bring them to your attention.
And
kind
Axel
of
had a lot
talk
of health problems too.
about
So,
yeah. So I just I hate to start the show out like that when it comes to these things, but I think it's kind of important to kind of get them out there in the open. Let's talk about some other interesting information this week that we found out. And one thing that happened, this may be the oldest piece of news, but something that I thought was wild this week was the news that Awesome Kong was sent home from the TNA UK tour that they just got done doing over there. And these are special shows because the UK, of course, is one of the best markets for TNA. I mean, the fans go crazy for them. They have a lot of fun there. They do some of their best work sometimes in the UK. But Awesome Kong decided that she was not really hip on what Rebby Sky was bringing in the locker room and got into a bit of a scuffle, which caused Awesome Kong to get sent home from this UK tour. So you didn't know it was a big deal, or apparently TNA felt like it was a big deal, and they felt like Awesome Kong was in the wrong. So they did pack her bags and send her on back home. I just got to know what your guys' opinion on this is, because there's two different ways to look at this. When you're coming from Awesome Kong's point of view here, I think she felt like Rebby Sky, or Rebby Hardy, whatever you want to call her. She was, someone who was coming in the locker room, not following what wrestler etiquette calls for in the locker room. And so she approached her and basically told her that she didn't need to be in there, blah, blah, blah. Argument ensues. If you're looking at it from, Rebby's side, she's got her child with her. She's having to come into this locker room and she's being attacked while her child is right there in the vicinity, which, in my personal opinion, the child being there was probably the biggest reason they sent Awesome Kong home. But, I mean, where would you lie on this? I mean, what do you think about this whole situation?
Man. I don't know. This is hard because it's mostly hearsay, and we just know that she got sent home for whatever. And it's hard. Like, obviously, Rebby being brought in to help the Matt Hardy character and all this fun stuff that they're building over there at TNA. But at the same time, I mean, they're there to do a job. Awesome Kong felt like she was a distraction to that job, and here we are. So I don't.
Yeah, Sean, I mean, this is interesting. And it also brings up the question about Rebby and having her child there in the locker room. That's a little questionable to me. Just because of the fact that, I mean, I get it, it's a young kid. The kid doesn't know a whole lot at this time. But at the same point, to me, you're bringing it into an environment that is not really, to me, at sometimes the safest environment. I don't know. What do you think about this whole thing and the fact that, this all happened?
Well, depending on, apparently Meltzer says that, Rebby had visible choke marks, is what reports are saying, that Kong held her up against the wall. The baby was right there. I mean, you can't really do that kind of stuff. Whether it's from previous stuff, they have heat with each other from previous stuff, and Rebby's just really proud about I'm not gonna just sit there and say I'm sorry to you and all that kind of whatever. I mean, let's be honest, Rebby Hardy is not the most nicest person. That's according to Patrick, who's met her on various occasions, and other people who have and she also doesn't come off well on social media and all that stuff either. So I would, and Awesome Kong has history of this too. She got fired for doing this to Bubba the Love Sponge. Let's not forget that too. Mm-hmm. She attacked him because he said crap about the Haiti earthquakes and all this junk, and then she did the whole thing with WWE where she lied about the baby, and so this woman is not also the greatest woman ever either. You've got two women that apparently don't give a crap what people think about them, and then also don't have the greatest personalities either. So, it's kind of like two bulls flocking horns, and doesn't mesh very well.
Exactly. And, with the packages they bring to the locker room, I understand why you could possibly bring Awesome Kong. Yes, she does have that baggage, but she's also a great talent. She's someone that could bring a lot to the show. Whereas Ruby Sky, to me, doesn't really bring as much. It's not worth the trouble. I get that Matt Hardy's a part of this company, and they value Matt Hardy, which at some point they should value Matt Hardy because he's a big name in the world of wrestling, and he needs those big names. But is it really worth it just because he's a part of the company to hire his wife to be a talent? I don't know. After all the things we've heard over the years about this guy and police being called to hotels and violence and all the other things we've heard, and Paul, this seems like, to me, it's already rearing its ugly head, and we're just now starting on our journey with Ruby Sky and TNA.
It's very possible. Stuff like this, like you're saying with Awesome Kong, is sort of a pattern. And I guess we'll see. You want to hope that she's going to do the right thing, especially when her husband is the top guy in the company right now. But who knows?
Yeah, I understand, and it boggles my mind that TNA wants to put up with that. Like I said, I still understand why they want to deal with Awesome Kong, big name, but just Ruby Sky. Just because she's married to a guy, unless it's in his contract that, hey, my wife has to work too, I would probably keep from that being a part of the show.
Well, I don't know that Awesome Kong, the way she's been now, is really not that much of an asset to TNA right now as she stands.
Mm-hmm.
So she was much more of an asset the first time she got fired, because the whole knockouts was built around her and Gil Kim. Like right now, Awesome Kong could go, and would it really matter? Because the knockouts is kind of like nothing at this point.
I guess you bring a point there. I don't know. I just, I see, the dollar signs when it comes to Awesome Kong, because people know her. They're intrigued. Whereas in Ruby Sky, if they see her on a poster, they're like, "Oh, okay."
Well, but she makes Matt's character part of. Matt's almost like another Jeff Jarrett in a way. Like, Ruby kind of has a little bit some of those same qualities as Karen, where she has her time where she feels like she needs to talk, and she's the one kind of influencing Matt in a way, and I feel like it kind of adds to his, like, why you hate him character.
I could definitely see that, but I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm going to wait till we talk TNA Impact to get really heavy in my discussion, because I have a lot to say about that. So, but I'll hold that. I'll keep it till we actually do talk TNA. Since we're talking about women here, let's talk about Sunny. Now, of course, we all know that Sunny did this movie. And of course, we heard on a recent podcast of ours and talk about it at length. But we're going to get talk about film. We're going to talk about her autobiography she has come out with, and it is called A Star Shattered. Now,
that certainly happened.
Yeah, that definitely did happen, and in the movie as well. But there's a lot of discussions about Sunny's, motivations here, her project, everything she's doing. Some people are speculating that the movie deal was done way before it even came out, and she went and filmed it, and this autobiography, just to me, sounds kind of fishy that it comes out right after this movie does. I don't know if it was scheduled to or not. It just seems kind of fishy to me.
Well, the movie was done last year around WrestleMania time. They just been sitting on it.
See, that's where it comes from.
And then the whole thing with the ring was a bunch of whatever to get people to, paying attention to her. And then you go, oh, here's the movie, by the way. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. So, here you go again, and she's staying in the news, which, hey, that does make some money, let's be honest. But, I'm just going to ask you guys this. Knowing who Sunny is, and knowing her story, and knowing some of the things that she's put out there that have been false, should anybody even attempt to read this autobiography and believe anything in it? Because I'm hard pressed to believe anything that she puts out there, to be honest with you.
I would too, but at the same time, I mean, it's always interesting to read what exactly they put into these things. Sometimes they're very genuine, down to earth. Other times they're trying to spin stuff and just like, even if it's all completely false, getting a portrait into the mind of that person is usually always worth the read.
I'd agree with what Paul said. I mean, that's kind of why you read these autobiographies. You kind of get to know from their perspective what they thought about certain things. Whether she's telling you the truth or not, that's up for debate on that. You'd always have to read it to find out. I mean, there's some that they go to, like Bret Hart goes to great lengths to tell you every minute detail to the point where it's just like, sometimes it's like, hey, dude, get to the point here. But there's other ones where they're just upfront about everything. I mean, like, I think one of my favorite ones that I've ever read is Eric Bischoff's. You don't like him, but by the end of the book, I didn't like, I kind of understand why he did some of the things he did and whatever, He's about making money and all that stuff, and it kind of makes sense. And, Ric Flair's was great, and there's so many of them that's just, those autobiographies are always interesting one way or another.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan has his, and he discusses a lot of things. And, once again, not striking trust Hulk Hogan 100%. Not that he
talk about telling stories.
But this is a guy that is, to me, a compulsive liar, just like Sonny. And he comes up with all sorts of fun schemes, like, hey, I was going to be the bass player for Metallica. Okay, whatever. So this guy, is another controversial figure right now in wrestling. Of course, he's still out of WWE because of his lawsuit and for the things he said in a certain video. But, it comes out, recently, just this past week, telling some fans and people around the world that, hey, I think I'm going to be back in WWE very shortly. Now, with all the controversy that surrounds him, and without this lawsuit even being done, should we believe him, Sean? I mean, really, is this really something that I should sit here and say, okay, yeah, I see that happening?
I think we know that this is happening at some point. Once this lawsuit gets figured out and all that stuff dies down, I think the guy still sells merch. I mean, the guy still works as a great ambassador for other countries, for other places where people don't give a flying crap about what he said. We also got to think about that. There's countries that do not care about this stuff. And, he works in that capacity. I mean, remember, he's one of the legends. I mean, when you're talking about, he's that guy that goes on the Mount Rushmore of WWE. I mean, we can't take that away from him. Doesn't matter. I mean, there are worse things people have done than this, than what he did. And I'm not trying to make light of it or whatever. It is terrible things that he said, but there's context for all that and whatever. Just, I feel like at some point he'll be back, whether it's next year or the year after that. I don't think he's lying when he says it. It's just, and also if he's been told something about that, maybe you should keep your mouth shut. But, that's just me.
Yeah, looking at this though, Paul, I mean, the word shortly, that's what I'm interested in here. And I wonder what his definition of shortly is, because he talks like he's going to be back before the year 2016 is up. And I don't know that could be the case.
I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him come WrestleMania time. And I only say that because of how depleted the roster is and how much there might be struggling just to get these big names to show up for the show to fill out that arena.
Yeah.
We've also, this guy has been tossed out of the company how many times? 3 that I can think of. He'll be back. I mean, it's just... Not
to mention others where he just left by himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's habit now.
Yeah. I guess I can't say that I wouldn't mind seeing him. I'm not a big Hulk Hogan, not that people are, but if they allow it, they allow it. I'm just kind of surprised because they try to stick by their guns and say, hey, until this thing's over, we're not letting him come back, and so
as they should. You don't
as
want
Don
more
puts
blowback.
the cassette.
No, I'm trying to. close
Sound
this
like you-
door, and it's...
Kind of like those little cassette players, and you stick the cassette in and click. I'm waiting for Ace of Base to come on.
Oh, man.
But
Well, that can be arranged.
I saw the sign, guys, and that sign said Prime Time wants to be part of the WWE again. Would that be a good idea?
Uh,
I don't know what they bring to the table anymore.
I saw the sign that says, you want something that says racist. Bring that back to WWE. I'm just saying. People are complaining about the, New Day being, there's a sect of people that complain about the New Day being racist. You bring Crime Time back and the way it was, I think those voices are going to get a little bit louder.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely understand it, because the gimmick was honestly all about really, who they were and about them stealing things. And yeah, I think it's great if they want to be back and be a part of WWE, but to be honest, I just don't see it happening right now, at least for sure.
I know they liked Shad because he was big and whatever. So him, and he was the first one to go. Whenever Shad left by himself, and then JTG was the one that never got fired until he finally did.
Yeah.
Now I wonder if that'll be a thing. Like Vince will be like, I don't know if I want to let him back in here. I'll never get rid of him again. But who knows? Maybe them being I would assume if they let him come back, they change his gimmick or they change their gimmicks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to see if that would be the possibility. I just don't know if they like him enough to bring him back. I just don't know that. Well, before we jump into Rapid Hit, I want to talk about one more thing that came up this week in the news, and that is more discussion and a little bit of an update on the Cruiserweight show that could hit WWE this summer. Now, the thought process behind this show has kind of evolved, and they're looking at a 10-episode show. And in the show, it is not going to include any wrestlers from WWE that are actually working for the company. It is going to actually be all independent wrestlers who fit the cruiserweight build, and of course, I believe it's under a 250-pound limit. So this is going to be interesting because not only is it no one from WWE, but it's all guys trying to find a way to maybe get a contract with WWE, but it's all cruiserweights. I think this is interesting. I think it could work. But, I mean, what do you think about this, Paul? I mean, do you think this is WWE just trying to reach out and find something new? What do you think they're really trying to find here?
I think they're, if they come across a new guy who they think might be able to bring something to the table, then I'm sure that's icing for the cake for them. But really, this seems like a cheaper way to try to create content for them, because I'm sure they're not going to pay these indie guys a whole ton of money. It'll be more than they make, and then what they'll get on the tour, like in tours or something like that. They'll make it worth their time, but it won't be anything like super huge. So I imagine this isn't going to be overly expensive for them, and I think that's what they're after.
Sean, this can be a tournament too. This is not just a hey, we're going to throw a bunch of guys out there in matches and see what happens, and the next week we're doing the same thing. They're actually going to have a tournament, have a set bracket, and I think that could add something. But how do you feel about that? And what do you think is going to really make this thing work?
The tournament thing is always intriguing because people like tournaments. You try to make it as legit as you possibly can. I think you're going to get more people into it. You also have to remember that the basis of your network is hardcore wrestling people. So you might want to tailor it a little bit to them. Don't necessarily tailor it so much to the same people that will watch Raw every week. This is intriguing because you could literally go all around the globe if you wanted to and grab people. And, when they were talking about it previously, they were talking about, some names that are kind of big in Japanese wrestling now that were not, they were just starting out back then. And, could they bring in, a guy like a Zack Sabre or something like that? For something like this, I mean, could they bring a Marty Scurll or just, some of the Japanese guys? Could they bring some luchadors in aside from Kalisto? I mean, this would be interesting to see how far-reaching this really goes, or if it's just a bunch of Evolve guys and whatever, Will this really be a talent search and you try to pick the best 12 or best 16 cruiserweights, in quotations, remembering that a lot of your big talent that's out there right now could be considered a cruiserweight, especially in NXT. I just hate the idea of using the name cruiserweight because of that. But I like the idea of doing a network show like that, because I think that's one thing that they're kind of missing is they're doing all this cool reality stuff, but I still feel like having original wrestling programming would really help you out, other than having those like live house shows and the takeover specials.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. So we'll have to see. We'll know more this summer, and I'm sure we will get more information as it comes. So let's turn to some rapid hits, guys. Let's go ahead and do a few of these. Of course, we'll just name the topic, and of course, you just can't give your brief thoughts on what you think about them. Let's start with Stardust. He says Cody is 100% done.
Man, I like both characters. I think so far I prefer Cody just simply because of booking, but anything they want to give this guy, he'll make it work.
Stardust doesn't get out of character, so of course he's going to say Cody is 100% done. Whenever they feel like Stardust is done, he's going to be done, and we'll see some other form of Cody at some point.
Christopher Daniels signed an exclusive deal with a Ring of Honor Wrestling.
Perfect signing. TNA is never going to push him to where he wants to be. ROH has a great use for him. Glad he's sticking around.
Yeah, it's good that he's sticking around. Would be cool to see him in a PWG DVD or something, and he can still work all the New Japans and stuff around the world, so that's good for him.
TNA lost Davey Richards for a while leg injury, and of course NXT lost Ty Dillinger to a leg injury as well.
Man, Ty Dillinger being out really sucks. I love that gimmick. Davey Richards, I'm not incredibly a giant fan of, but that's going to hurt TNA for sure.
God, poor Eddie Edwards. That's twice. Well, one of the time it was Eddie Edwards that got hurt, and Dave Richards didn't get to do anything. I guess it was time for Dave Richards to get hurt instead. That sucks. You never want to. That's one of their premier tag teams, and now that's pretty much, down. And would that mean that I'm guessing they're going to have to lose the titles again, even though that looked pretty clear that was going to happen sooner rather than later? Considering you're not bringing beer money back for nothing, but that sucks. I mean, Ty Dillinger, man, that's certainly not a perfect 10. Ty, I mean, I feel bad for you.
Maybe the way he broke his leg was a perfect 10.
No.
Oh. Hopefully not in areas. Gallows and AJ Styles have signed deals with Figures Inc. Now, this could be a problem because WWE, of course, has their deal with Mattel for action figures, and of course, they had the same problem with Kevin Owens having a action figure out there that was not tied to them.
I think AJ's had action made of him for TNA before, so I don't know. It's good for them. That's some money in their pocket, but we'll see how this blows back.
I would assume that WWE knows about this or knew about this before him signing. I don't know if that means that they just signed these or whatever, but the only thing that's different is that that's his same name. So, I would assume that kids just, if they don't see that WWE watermark there, they don't buy it. So if you see an AJ Styles thing and it doesn't have the WWE logo there, they might know the difference.
WWE has been considering doing a rewards program.
Interesting.
If it's just for buying action figures, I particularly don't care. If it includes other merchandise, like if you buy 5 shirts and you get a ticket to a live event, I'm all for that, because that might happen at some point. But,
if they extend it to more that like shirt DVD, like if it's the whole like shop thing, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool.
I mean, that's definitely worth it. You're paying the price of the live event ticket, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Ring of Honor's 14th anniversary show is sold out.
Good for them. Good for them. They really get on the boat early this year, really make a name, because they've been growing, and anything to help them out is always good news.
I'm just happy that Kenny Omega is going to be there this time. So, yeah.
And, of course, one last thing. Nakamura has signed a 3-year deal with WWE, and they say that he will not be in the NXT ranks for very long at all. He'll be hitting that main roster.
I'm so happy for him in a place that like he can move on and he feels great and all this stuff. But please, WWE, do not screw this up. Please, God, just don't.
I'm going to be, I asked Gary to, that is actually a special version of his song played by this Japanese group. Her name is Suzy K on YouTube. You can go look it up. She doesn't do either wrestling themes. She does other Japanese songs, I think, on the violin. She's great. I asked Gary to put that in the intro because it might be the last time that we get to hear that, because even though we all knew this was not true, whoever came out with that stupid rumor was dumb. That WWE had bought the rights to his theme song. That did not happen. So CFO Money will be making a theme song for Nakamura. I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe they can get something that sounds really close to that or whatever. It's just going to be so weird not hearing that when he comes out. But I'm happy for him. I'm glad that he's happy, that he's wanting to do something for himself. And, 3 years gives you some guarantee he could do something. And WWE's paying him too much money for him to be in NXT very long. So,
Yeah. And we'll definitely be talking Nakamura some more in this show. Don't forget, we will be talking about New Beginnings. We'll be previewing the next show for that. And, of course, we'll be talking about his go home, or I can't call it go home, his go away show, whatever you want to call it. Farewell show. That's what you're actually supposed to call it, right, guys?
yes.
Farewell show for Mr. Nakamura himself.
Well, and speaking of New Japan, they apparently signed Will Ospreay. He's going to debut at Invasion Attack and then be in the Best of Super Juniors. What do you think, Paul?
From what I've seen of the kid, he's very talented and somebody who can hopefully make a splash in that division. But I know there's a lot of hurt feelings from TNA who apparently felt like they had signed him to a deal as well. So interesting stuff.
TNA,
that TNA
just needs to.
They can't seem to keep anybody signed anytime they make
TNA did not sign him. They wanted him to do something with them, and then I think they were going to try to sign all 3 of the guys that were going to work at the UK tour. But they wanted to try him out first, and it's like, okay. Well, and then you go squash him on Explosion so nobody can see him anyway. It's just like, that's pretty petty, It's just, it's petty. It's just petty from TNA.
True that. Hopefully won't see any more of that. That's what they do sometimes.
TNA and New Japan have bad blood from the way that didn't work out very well. But
yeah. Well, guys, that is quick hits. That is all the wrestling news for this week, but we have other stuff coming up. I guess Monday Night Raw, doing that next, so stay tuned for that.
WWE Monday Night Raw.
all right, this week's Monday Night Raw, as I was trying to send a tweet at the same time, and it was not like, there it goes. Okay. So this week's Raw was live from Birmingham, Alabama, still in the South there. And we started off with, Bray had promoted that Brock Lesnar was going to be there. They start off the show with Brock Lesnar. And then it's Dean Ambrose that comes out. And he has a little promo here with Brock Lesnar. Later on, we have Stephanie tried to mess with Dean and Roman, saying that, one time you guys are going to have to deal with maybe turning on each other. They play it off. Ambrose kind of says that, hey, sometimes Roman is my buddy. Or my sidekick or whatever. Which was great. Only Ambrose can pull that kind of stuff off. And then you have the stuff with Triple H and Brock, where Triple H is kind of like, "Hey, Brock, what's this? What's with you letting that little Dean Ambrose mess with you?" And then we have the main event, which is Ambrose and Roman Reigns against New Day. So that storyline goes throughout the show. What did you guys think of this storyline? And a question I was asked, because I was in this week's 401 Fact or Fiction for the Wrestling Zone, it kind of made me want to watch a match between Ambrose and Brock instead of watching a Roman Reigns match with anybody. I just wanted to watch Ambrose and Brock have a match instead.
I'm on that bus. I really enjoyed Ambrose's promo work here. And it's not, I mean, he didn't have a ton to talk about, but it's the way he sort of went about just attacking Heyman and Lesnar, sort of, because, everybody's always just been afraid of Lesnar because, the WWE has built him into a murder machine. And, Ambrose obviously doesn't care about any of that. So I'd be totally down for one match between these two. The tag match later on was fine. I'm glad this show seemed more about Ambrose, and I'm totally behind that idea.
I'm behind Ambrose. I just really enjoy him. I'm also, in favor of seeing Brock versus Ambrose and, keeping Reigns out of that. I think the only thing I'm going to sit here and kind of disagree with Paul on is the fact that I did not think that the evening segment was Ambrose's strongest work. I don't know what it was about it. It just kind of came out a little flat to me. I don't know if it just was something I just wasn't going with that night or what.
Well, what did you want him to do then?
I really don't know. That's a great question. I just don't know that it worked all that. Okay. The one thing, I understand what they did in storyline with not having Brock attacking, but to me that just completely works against what Brock Lesnar is as well. But I don't think he said anything to Brock that was really just terribly, offensive,
But that wasn't what he was trying to do.
Exactly.
He was trying to just say that I'm not scared of you, even though everybody else is. And, looking at his size, you would think, okay, well, maybe he would be, and he's not. It goes along with his character.
Yeah. I don't think what he said was terrible. He says, I'll take your suplexes, whatever. He says, I want them. I want you to suplex me all over the place. And that's fine and dandy. I just don't know if I was really feeling it. Usually with Ambrose, I kind of enjoy it because you can kind of feel like, I get where he's I kind of feel. This one, I just kind of felt like he was just saying it. And so, other than that, Ambrose is fine the rest of the night. Roman Reigns, I'm sorry. When the Stephanie thing, he's more annoying than anything. I don't know.
He looks like a big goof.
He does.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'll allude to this. It's like being in high school and a bunch of guys are standing around a table and they're all like joking about something. Look at that guy's hat over there. Isn't it funny? It's a weird color. And the other guy's like, yeah, it is a funny color, isn't it? I wouldn't wear that. That's what Roman Reigns is doing. It's like, dude, we get it. Okay. Okay. You don't have to fit in, bro. Just nod your head. That's the way I feel about Reigns. I just wish he would just nod his head. The less he talks, the more of a fan favorite he is to me.
What do you think, Paul? What do you?
I mean, we've always known talking's never been Roman Reigns' strong suit. It's why he was the finishing guy for the Shield promos, because all he had to do was really put the period on the sentence, whereas Seth and Dean sort of set everything up. Right. And I mean, I just think it just leans more like, I think this show was about trying to put Dean into a better situation, because obviously they had to start counting on the guys they do have to sell out this WrestleMania they got coming up. And the more you can put focus on guys outside of what you have building towards your main event, which is clearly going to be Roman Reigns and Triple H, the better.
Now on SmackDown, they had Dean come in to have to, because they had the Roman Reigns and Rusev match to start the show, and then the League of Nations comes out and beats up. Well, Alberto's already out there, I think, with Barrett, and they just start beating up Roman Reigns, and then Ambrose comes to try to make the save, and he hits Roman by accident. They play it off. They kind of just, in promos, they're like, hey, well, there's times where we're going to hit each other, there's times where we're going to be friends, and we all kind of get that. And so they continue to do this whole playing off the whole they keep attacking each other thing. Do you see this as like somebody's going to turn on somebody, or is it just they really just want to keep them both the way they are and kind of try to add some tension between the two without letting you know outright that there is tension?
I think it's more testing the waters because, as you know, the injury bug has hit WWE quite hard, as we bring up quite often nowadays, and you're going to have some stuff in the back burner in case some stuff comes up, like Seth isn't ready to come back in time, or you have other guys that just aren't ready, what have you. Having these two sort of go through a little rocky period here, especially during the, a triple threat, which is sort of perfect. I'm assuming they're testing the waters to see which way they want to go in case this ends up having to be something they have to shoot for SummerSlam.
Gary, what do you think?
I think, I go where they're trying to go a little bit here. I'm trying to stay on the safe side. I kind of agree with Paul. I mean, they are testing those waters. They're trying to see what they can get out of these two guys, what the audience is going to think of these guys, and what they can kind of put into place. And I'm totally okay with kind of feeling out everything. I think that's a good thought process to kind of figure out where you're going, figure out what the audience is going. Because I think a lot of times they throw things out there on the table and don't consider what the audience is going to do or think, because they're just so set in what they're putting on the table, not putting into place that maybe people don't want that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to put this into place. I'm praying to God that's all going to turn into a Roman Reigns as a heel. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm praying that happens.
Oh boy, we just got torrential rain downpour happen over here, so hopefully that doesn't affect anything here. Does anyone believe that there is any way they can make the crowd not boo Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? I've been hearing The Rock is going to show up and be in his corner with Stephanie and Vince being in Triple H's corner, and then Ronda Rousey might even show up or whatever to do anything possible to get people to cheer Roman Reigns. Do you think that even if The Rock is there, people will get behind Reigns?
There's the head scratcher, because I don't have a great answer for that. The only reason people sort of started doing it is because him and Brock had a match that came out of left field that was really entertaining when people were expecting just the drizzling poops. And Triple H's recent track record with these younger guys is pretty good, so I'm willing to give the match a chance and all that. I don't know. That's a lot of people who are going to hate Roman Reigns walking into that in the Cowboy Stadium.
I mean, they chanted for Triple H at the Royal Rumble. I mean, what makes them think that they won't do it with an even harder core crowd at WrestleMania?
Yeah, that would be my fear too if I was Vince McMahon, because of the fact that WrestleMania is not going to be full of people from Iowa or full of people from random parts of the country that don't really get up for a Raw. This is WrestleMania. This is people from all over the world who care about the product, who care about things, and they're going to chant and they're going to get loud in there. You're going to have a soccer style environment in this place, and it is going to be pretty much primarily against Roman Reigns unless he finds a way to really get himself over. I can't think of anybody that's going to give Roman Reigns the rub, really, to get him to that place. I mean, the Rock is the Rock, and we saw Royal Rumble didn't work. They don't care how much the most electrifying man in the world is right there beside his side. It doesn't help. So I truly don't know of anyone that can stand by. I mean, Well, I mean, you guess you could try to get Cam Newton to show up. Maybe people are going to care then. I mean,
Oh my God.
he can wear those beautiful pants, those Armani printed, what was it, zebra pants? He can wear those. Maybe.
And once
I
again,
don't know.
we're
I'm just saying.
segmenting the audience here.
I'm just saying. I mean, anybody. I mean, think of the biggest footballer out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ronaldo's going to show up.
yeah, Ronaldo's going to come and help Roman Reigns. I'm just saying I can't think of one person, definitely not in the world of wrestling. I can't think of one person in the world of wrestling. I think maybe the one person, Brock Lesnar, could give him enough rub if Brock Lesnar was on his side, but I just don't.
No, it's people will boo or cheer Brock. That doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anybody.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it's so... Doesn't it say something about the company if you are trying so hard to get people to not boo Roman Reigns, that maybe Roman Reigns just isn't that guy that you want him to be?
Why can't he? Why don't they take the exact formula that they used with his cousin? The Rock at one time was not over. The Rock at one time was a nobody. He was just another guy in a faction, and it took...
they used with Cena when he had his rapper gimmick. He was a heel first.
Yeah, exactly.
People like to forget about that. You know, they want to just think that he was Super Cena the whole time. But...
I don't know. I just think a heel turn... Get people to boo him for a reason more than just not liking him. Get them to boo him for other reasons, and then have him turn again. There's a possibility, Paul, I don't know if you agree, but I just think that could work.
I don't see. I mean, it's a tried and true process has worked in the past. I said The Rock is a great example. People were telling Rocky to die. Live audiences all over the country were chanting "Die, Rocky, die," and they turned heel, and then he turned into this mega face a couple years later. Just because it's not his time as your top face now doesn't mean you still can't use them down the road. And I think WWE refuses, in its own stubbornness, to believe that they don't have a top face waiting in the wings when they have a Daniel Bryan who wants to come back, or they have a Dean Ambrose who is probably their top face. And you can turn Roman heel, and it's no big deal. But
it's just every time I look at Ambrose, there's like nothing in the world that will make me just not like him.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's when you have somebody like that, why are you fighting to make this guy that obviously he only gets cheers from certain sections and mostly women, and you know, he's very smug and he acts like a jock, and it's like that just seems natural heel to me. It doesn't seem like someone that is kissing babies and slap. I mean, Dean's not going to do that either, but it's just like that's a different kind of, you know, it's just why are you trying to do a storyline that was not meant for him with him? Just
I have to say that too, and I know it may sound funny, and I don't know if people would disagree or agree with me. You tell me what you think, but I look at Roman Reigns. Let's just look at you view him as tall, dark, handsome, kind of like the pretty boy. You know, he's got a little gruff. You know, he's got the facial hair. He's, you know, got tattoos. Those kind of things working for him. So yes, you could say, oh, he's not. You know, he don't like Tom Brady or a male model, but his attitude, the way he carries himself, still feels so much like Sean's saying, a jock, a kind of a pretty boy here, and I don't think that's what today's audience is wanting to see. Back in the Attitude Era, they wanted to rebel, so Stone Cold Steve Austin became the hero. I don't think it's because everybody loved Texas rednecks. It wasn't because of that. It's because of, at the time period, they liked rebellion. Well, this time period, you see now people are enjoying the rebellious guys once again, but Dean Ambrose is more fitting of that. He's more of those people's thought process, because Dean Ambrose looks like a guy that you could see at Walmart. He would be a little unhinged, but he's a guy you could see at Walmart, whereas Roman Reigns looks like a guy who wouldn't even step foot in a Walmart, like he would be too good to do that. I think that's where people don't like Roman Reigns as well. I think that's why we're seeing it.
Any thoughts, Paul, or anything?
I ain't Gary just nailed it on the head.
Yeah. I thought Gary did a great job there, nailing it on the head there too. So we move on from that. There was one part here where I thought that they totally missed the boat, and this is another topic conversation that's kind of been a thing this week in podcasts that I've listened to and whatever. That the ratings for Raw were not very good. In fact, the last hour of Raw was dangling by a thread on that 3 million whatever, and you don't have any football. You don't have any competition going on that day other than that normal things that are going on Monday nights. And, like, to me, I feel like Brock is not a guy you could put on the marquee anymore and he brings people in. I feel like Brock is just Brock now. And especially I felt like when you have, I know, Big Show is kind of in between. You don't know what he is, whatever. He changes heel and face every day. But if he's having this thing with the Wyatt family or whatever, why does he not come out and beat up the Wyatt family? Like, especially with Bray not there to, like, send a message. I know Bray's not there because of, Blackjack Mulligan and whatever, but I felt like that was a moment where if you wanted Brock to feel like, oh, I came to see Brock, I got some Brock Lesnar, that was a moment for you, and they didn't do it.
I think it's part of the audible they had to call whenever they left, and partially because I think they're still trying to rebuild the Wyatt family into something that could feasibly be taken seriously by Brock Lesnar. And if you have them poop all over them early February into January, it's not going to leave a lot of mystique for a WrestleMania match. If there even is a mystique to be had.
I like the thought process of Brock Lesnar coming out to attack them. Now, physically, I'm with Paul on this. You don't want to give it away.
But didn't Heyman say that he's going to get his revenge? And they're not going to see it coming, like.
I think that's fine too, I guess. But I mean, I wish that was more plain and right out there in your face. I wish it was one of the things where Paul Heyman was he in the middle of the ring when he said that? Because I don't remember that.
That was at the opening segment.
Okay.
He said that, yeah.
I guess I blanked that one. But I just, I think it'd be kind of cool eventually. Maybe not now because you are avoiding that situation, but I think it would be cool in the future if they had one family out there. He comes out and then let's go out and they're gone. Every time he tries to get his revenge, he never can until a pay-per-view.
I mean, and one of the things that seems to keep changing every day is what the Wyatt family are going to be doing at WrestleMania. There's been a lot of talk about Braun Strowman and The Undertaker, which I just want to take a big dump on that right now. Can we just not have that happen? I hope Undertaker just says just a flat out F you, this is not happening. You're gonna have him wrestle in Texas against a guy that can't move. Who thinks that's gonna be a good match?
Ugh, it doesn't sound that great, honestly. Braun Strowman versus Big Show, I'm in.
Braun Strowman versus. That's even worse.
Just because it's going to be a big guy match, and you're not going to expect anything out of it. Why would you? But
but what makes the difference? If you're going to use that logic, Gary, then isn't that the same logic you use for Taker and Braun Strowman?
Now, Taker can actually do things other than Big Show, at least Taker has something there that people care about. Big Show, people are so done with Big Show. I can't think of anybody that's still wearing Big Show shirts, cares about what he's doing. I think there's a difference there. Even if it's not a whole lot of in the ring difference, if mentally people look at it differently.
If you're so stuck on the Wyatt family, Paul, then why not do Luke Harper against The Undertaker then?
I don't think The Undertaker should wrestle the Wyatt family at all.
I agree with you.
I think somebody like Kevin Owens, who may or may not have his WrestleMania match up in the air right now, is a perfect stand-in if you really want to stand in.
Yes.
I know.
I want to throw AJ's name out there too.
Yes, you beat me to it.
Because he did. Well, I've been saying this on the group for like a while, but I just that he did say he wanted to work with Bryan once, and I think the closest thing you're going to get to that right now is AJ, and he can ensure that Undertaker can have a good match, and he had to work with his fair share of old guys in New Japan, so he would know how to protect Taker and also sell Undertaker stuff.
Styles and Owens stuff have so both been in the business since 2000. I'm sure they know how to take care of somebody either way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want somebody in there who's experienced and still young enough to carry whatever Taker's got left in the tank, either of those guys are solid choices. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I guess unless you want to just have the tagline "Phenomenal versus Phenom" for WrestleMania, which admittedly sounds pretty sweet. And if you use it, I want some money. But
We're patent out here.
I think a Kevin Owens Taker match. I mean, the promos from Owens would just be solid gold.
Yes, they would.
Solid gold.
I would enjoy that.
Definitely. You know what? I don't mind if they want to do like. I think it's like they've been talking about Brock and Big Show and like Mark Henry in a 6-man or something against the other Wyatts, or Kane or something, not Brock. I don't mind if you want to do that. If you have to have them all on the show, like I think that's just. I know I'm gonna like go to the bathroom during that match, but whatever. I mean, seriously, are you guys gonna sit there and watch that match? I mean, I know I'm not. Like.
I think you're right on that. I mean, I just think there's different ways we can look at different matchups we're going to have here, and it's going to be a spectacle. It wouldn't surprise me if they came up with something way off the wall, like I don't know, Rowan versus Pat Sajak or something.
Oh God, Gary.
It wouldn't surprise me. It's just the way they do things. They're going to have things we don't like. I'm just going to have to face that fact.
Well, speaking of things we may or may not like. Kalisto beat Rusev by countout because they're trying to protect Rusev. And then on SmackDown, Kalisto was involved in this feud that has suddenly become a feud again. Dolph Ziggler and Kevin Owens. With Ziggler on commentary, Owens and Kalisto are having a match, and then Ziggler gets involved and Kalisto rolls up Owens. So this is 2 shows in a row where Owens has been defeated by someone. No doubt that Ziggler and Owens had a really good match on this Raw, but it seemed like a lot of people were dumbfounded by the fact that Ziggler beat Owens after Owens has like an 8-0 record against Ziggler in their short history against each other. I mean,
I don't know that I have a problem with it per se, and the reason I say it is because I think Kevin Owens is strong enough at this point where him losing matches, and especially in the fashion of something happening where someone's distracting him or things in that nature, kind of help build his character because he can always use those as an excuse, and that's what he'll do. They have excuses.
Mm-hmm. And I think it goes towards trying to build a vision that they're going to have to use very, very prominently now with the injuries, of course. So I don't have a problem with this at all, and I loved the match too. It was one of the better matches on TV this week.
What did you think about? So they had the promo with Brie where she talked about Nikki, who Nikki is already in the gym, guys. A week after her surgery, and apparently John Cena, they are still hoping for him to show up by WrestleMania. So we could still see Cena and Undertaker at WrestleMania. This guy has been working out like crazy, apparently. So we shouldn't rule that out yet. I guess we shouldn't rule out anything when it comes to John Cena. That dude is insane.
The
Superhuman. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Charlotte came in and kind of blasted Nikki and said, "Oh, I was the reason that I kind of put her out and whatever." And so they kind of had to stand off. I thought Charlotte was good, but she kind of sounded like a robot. And then you have a Brie and Charlotte match, and Brie pins Charlotte, and now it seems like we're getting maybe Brie against Charlotte for the title at Fastlane to kind of delay the Sasha and Becky and Charlotte thing to WrestleMania, which I'm okay with because this goes along with the whole thing with Total Divas, I guess, and I didn't want them to kind of put them all in a match on a show that nobody cares about. But what do you guys think? A lot of people just didn't like this whole thing with Brie.
I'm not a fan because it came out of field and they've literally done nothing with Brie for about 3 months.
Right.
And that's my only problem with it. If it's a stall tactic, then whatever, but I feel like you could have at least been doing something with Brie,
It's sad to say, but I've really not ever gained any feelings towards what Brie's going to do. In fact, I kind of look at Brie as a situation where, like, someone gives me a free pizza, I'm all excited about it, then I open it, it's got anchovies, and it's just kind of like, oh, never mind. That's what I feel like. It's like Brie mode. I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. I'm going to move on. So
you're sold on the Nikki part of it, on the pizza.
Oh,
but
no, the Nikki part.
Yeah.
No. Nikki, that's definitely another thing. I'm a little bit angry with that situation because she puts out a message out there to the whole IWC and tells them, I may never wrestle again. And she's in the gym.
Oh, come on, Gary. Come on, Gary. Like, you know that they hyped that up for.
She is not Kurt Angle. Unless she wrestles like Kurt Angle, I'm not sold.
Well, we don't know. They just told us she can't do the torture rack again, which, I don't think she should have been lifting people anyway. But apparently that might have been part of the reason why she was having those problems, because she's lifting another woman on her back constantly, and then putting pressure on her neck or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Lex Luger can probably teach her another move. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's a really crappy excuse. Like, guys lift people all the time. No, I don't buy that.
I don't know. That's what.
Bullshit.
I thought it was weird too, but I don't know. Well, if you think about it, you're constantly going up and down with your neck, and then you're putting pressure on it, and you're pushing her down.
Well, trust me,
I can sort of.
A lot with John Cena.
Okay, Gary.
Samoa Joe's been doing the Muscle Buster for years. Never had a problem. I'm
so glad that Paul just sideswiped that thing that Gary said. I don't, Gary. We're not here to talk about people's sexual decisions. Whatever. Speaking of decisions, Tyler Breeze just squashed in about 2 minutes. Man, he is just going down the toilet. Poor guy.
Yeah, it is not very happy days for me, especially with Zoolander 2 coming out. I mean, it's kind of a sad situation.
I know, he should have been in there as one of the beautiful people that were being killed or something.
Yeah.
They're on the Titus O'Neil train right now, it seems.
Even though no one gave a crap about Titus O'Neil coming out there, but,
I like Titus.
I like Titus too. I want him to go somewhere too. Trust me. Just the people need to care about him. Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't help that Titus was doing nothing until all of a sudden they started making you feel like you need to care about him. So, a few of the other things that are important on this show are, of course, Becky having a match with Sasha, which then turned into a Team Bad hour, and then Team Bad kind of come in and beating up Sasha, and then Becky coming in to save her, and you get a big NXT chant. And then on SmackDown, Becky was asked about why she helped Sasha, and she says that basically, I don't like seeing people get beat up, and that I'll help anybody. So their canned response that I figured they would do for her. And then her and Sasha kind of got into it, and they kind of agreed to not agree to work together. So I didn't mind this. I think this is, again, another way to end the Team Bad thing, and again, another way to have another Divas thing going on, which is something WWE has struggled with, and give you another match for Fastlane, and not give away the match for WrestleMania that they want to do. What did you think?
I'm okay with this. We have to, if we're going forward with Brie temporarily, then we got to put this on the back burner, and letting tensions sort of simmer between the rest of the division in a build-up to whatever WrestleMania match they're going to do for these ladies. It's fine with me. And I mean, I watched the segment on SmackDown between the two, and I enjoyed that. The segment on Raw was pretty good too, so I got no problems here.
You know, besides, you know, what we've seen from Team Bad, which is Sasha Banks is not entertaining. I get it. That's why I don't really have a problem with it either. But I'm just kind of hoping it's over with, because, I mean, I was not, like, thrilled about watching it. I was kind of like, can I fast forward it, you know? But that's just because, you know, I get where they're going already. I don't really need to know the part, but other people might.
I'm just happy that it seems like Becky's not going to get thrown out of this thing, because apparently Becky gets the most cheers on house shows. But we know how that works for Roman Reigns, so. The last thing before we get into the huge thing that everybody apparently was like going gaga over, either one way or the other. Just, I could watch like 20 vignettes in a row of Truth and Goldust doing something. I mean, just, it makes me laugh every time. And then on SmackDown, they have Goldust show up, and like, he's trying to help Truth put stuff in his bag, and it's just, it's so dumb, but it's funny, and like, Goldust is just so good at that. You know, like, I don't like how they just randomly haven't come out with the Tourette's thing again, but just, you know, I don't know. I don't know how you could have a problem with this. Truth is not doing anything, and Goldust is not doing anything. Why not? Plus, the name rocks. I mean, how can you hate that?
You can't, and if you do, you're a communist, and that's all I got.
I agree. I'm right there with Paul on that. But I will say this. I mean, if they want to add some more comedy to this, I would love to see Goldust go get Booker T's advice on how to sway R-Truth. I think that'd be hilarious.
God.
So.
It was weird watching Total Divas and watching R-Truth have like a real, like, adult conversation with Natty about how, like, she shouldn't totally think that Tyson Kidd is depressed because he's not wrestling or whatever. I was like, wow, this is so different how they present you on a TV show, yet he's not like that at all. So, you know, obviously the big thing of this show is AJ Styles on the Miz TV segment. There are people that did not like this segment at all because AJ was made fun of using using Miz as the voice of Vince McMahon. Whereas others, including myself, really thought that this worked because Miz is a heel, and he's one of the only true heels on the roster that doesn't get cheered. And so, by the end, what happened? Nobody really chanted or gave AJ a pop when he came out. by the time the segment was over, they were chanting for AJ Styles. That to me tells me the segment works. Then on SmackDown, they had the match. It's good. And they have the stare down with Jericho, where Jericho says we're going to have AJ versus Jericho 2 on SmackDown next week. And to me, it sold me on watching SmackDown next week. And Jericho really put him over. He put him over on commentary. I mean, I just thought between the two shows, they did a good job with AJ. But what do you guys think?
I wasn't a giant fan immediately of them pairing with Miz because they do very little with the Miz and nobody cares about him anymore. And for people to care about AJ, he's going to have to do something with somebody who matters. And Chris Jericho still had some cachet, even with the crowd. The match with the Miz on SmackDown actually turned out to be pretty good. I enjoyed how the segment sort of grew. Like, it grabbed the audience's attention, which I think is really important if you're trying to make a case for AJ being at the top of the card. And for somebody to be able to do that 2 weeks in, when probably a greater population of the WWE audience doesn't really know who the guy is, I think speaks very well of him, and speaks towards maybe doing something with him sooner rather than later.
So Gary, so you know his submission is now called the Calf Crusher. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they you can't say Calf Killer because that.
Oh, that's right.
That would say that he's killing someone's calf, and apparently Calf Slicer doesn't work either. So.
Yeah, I understand. People are very PC these days, and I just saw online recently 2 people protesting the killing of cows for milk. So I understand. It's ridiculous. People killing cows just to get milk. How sad. Don't you need milk to
They don't kill them to get the milk.
I know. It's something sadly I saw, and people were actually protesting. That's how dumb people can do. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of cool. You know what? I mean, just about the whole Miz TV thing. It was okay. It was what it was. It's kind of what I expected. As much as I would sit there and love to hear AJ Styles get some words out and actually get a chance to have a decent promo on WWE TV. It's going to come, but you're kind of wanting it now. I think that was kind of fun for them to tease that a little bit, have Miz basically talk over him, and basically steal the spotlight as much as possible. So I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, it was okay. Even if he is the voice of Vince McMahon in there, Vince McMahon's a heel himself, so what's the big deal?
And that's, I know a lot of people were saying that you should let him talk, and he should have at least grabbed the microphone at the end when he was yelling stuff without the microphone, and said a few things or whatever. We know Vince hates Southern accents, even though that's a crime against us because we're all Southern here, and I particularly, have heard people say that is a very charming accent, so... why not? You never know if there's people that really think that that's cool, that, hey, he's a Southern guy like me, and I'm really going to go with that. But, Vince, ever since JR has been around, he does not care for that. But I think just, with the thing with Jericho on SmackDown where he kind of gets in his face, and he's like, no, I'm not going to be great. I'm phenomenal already. Just, you hear him say that, and you're like, man, this dude... And AJ already votes a different kind of confidence than that you're not used to seeing with him in TNA or whatever. You saw that more in New Japan because of the guys that he was having to work with or whatever. But just it's cool to see him he feels like someone that deserves to be on that same level with the Jericho, with those guys, just in the way his demeanor, the way he acts, and that says a lot.
And I think WWE really is trying to give this guy a fair shot and trying to get him over. I love there's some videos out there. I know this past Monday they put a video out there of him signing autographs for people out in the parking lot and doing things like that. Follow him to the locker room. They're trying to get him out there, trying to get people to be familiar with AJ Styles if they've never seen him before. And I think it's great to see because it obviously shows that they're willing to work with him. Not only that, it's cool that he's getting an opportunity to kind of be a star without being the biggest star.
Well, and Of course, Rookie Redneck, Paul. That just screams like an awesome nickname, doesn't it?
Yes. Awesome.
Find that T-shirt next week.
You know it, man.
You know that's going to be a T-shirt at some point. You know it. What about Lillian with her? I felt so bad for her. Like, Vince is so contradicting with himself. Like, you have this anti-bullying campaign, yet you're bullying your own employees. Just, doesn't that strike you as odd?
Par for the course, really.
Mm-hmm.
I get it one time. I get the whole redoing it with the recap of her calling the Usos the Grammy Award winners. But not to do it endlessly on that show. That just seemed really mean.
Yeah. We all screw up somehow. Vince is screwed up even though he hasn't. And, it's a shame to pick on someone like that. But I think if you work at WWE, you're probably used to it.
So, what do we think about a rating for this Raw?
Man, I think, I'm thinking I'm giving it about the same I gave last week's, which was a 6. Like, there's some fun stuff on here. Overall, there's not a ton to be overly picky about, but there's nothing on here super great either.
Yeah, that's why I totally agree with Paul. 6 to me works out perfect. It's a little below average for me because I think there was definitely some spots here that could have been better. I just feel like that they didn't have enough here to really value me to go further in a bigger rating.
So before we get out of here, last week we had that big segment with The Rock, and Vince apparently was not in favor at all about when The Rock went off script and talked to those guys in the front row dressed as wrestlers. But the bigger stink was made about the whole interaction between him and Lana, and whether that was WWE taking a shot at Lana for all the stuff before, insinuating that her and The Rock had sex, and then having Rusev show up there. A lot of people made a stink about that it was just wrong, and it was making Lana uncomfortable, and there's others that say, like, Lana should know when you sign a contract with WWE that if they're telling you not to do something and you do it anyway, that you kind of have to deal with the consequences that happen, which would include something like this. I mean, do you think it's just The Rock being his character? He's an ass, so he kind of does this. I mean, and he does have previous history with Lana anyway, with that segment on Raw with him and Rusev before. I mean, what do you think this is?
Gosh, stuff like this is really hard to really try to give a great opinion about. I'm going to say it's The Rock being The Rock. We've seen this a lot before, and sure, Lana has a whole lot of stuff going against her in the WWE's mind, even though, like, how do you get mad at somebody for committing to somebody that they're in love with, but whatever.
Right.
It's how the WWE likes to do business sometimes, and I'm just assuming this is The Rock trying to be The Rock, and maybe some stuff just went a little too far, like some of his segments have before.
It wouldn't be The Rock if he didn't. I mean, it'd be like Stone Cold Steve Austin going out and drinking Coca-Cola. It'd be like Mick Foley coming out and, dressed in a suit.
Like, some of those songs with Lillian went a little bit too far sometimes back in the day,
but,
And
that was the time period that it was what sold tickets. It was what sold merchandise. It was what sold people on The Rock in general. That's what they wanted to hear. Think about the time period you're talking about. You're talking about the Married with Children time period where everything's about sex and everything's about being raunchy. And the Jerry Springer show was popular at this time period. I mean, this is day and age. That's where The Rock comes from. So when he comes to 2016, do we expect him to show up and go, ha ha, I love you, go put some Grey Poupon? No, he's going to talk about sex. He's going to talk about all these other things. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I mean, he made jokes that were not okay for today, like the gay jokes and the other jokes that were, I'm sure sponsors were not happy with, but.
And Kevin Kelly, Hermie, things like that. I mean, that would be very offensive now. If you talk to somebody that, oh, how dare you, I have a cousin who's a hermaphrodite. Well, that's fine and dandy, but, this is what he does. And I understand there's a lot of people that are hurt over what he said to Lana, and I totally understand you wanting to protect Lana. And that's great, that's what you should do, but you understand WWE came up with a whole statement about this. This is a fictional show. I don't write, people and tell them how much I hate them because one of the TV shows I watch killed off a character. That was too bloody. That person, da-da-da-da. Or, I don't say, well, this person said too many S words in the show. I didn't like that. Well, that's the character. I can't change it. That's the way it is. That's the way The Rock is. I get where people are coming from, but I don't think that was harassment. I don't think that was degrading her. She knew what she signed up for. If she didn't want to be there, she didn't have to be there.
Did you guys see the thing where I think Rusev tweeted that Lana has broken Sheamus's arm, and I don't know what this thing called heat is, but Lana has a lot of it or whatever. It's Rusev totally trolling the smart people on Twitter going off about that. Yeah, I love Rusev. He's so great on social media. But so their ends are talking about all things Raw.
Yeah, did you give your rating, Sean? I didn't hear your rating for Raw.
I'm gonna go with 6. And honestly, I get everybody wants to go, and we're going to talk about a subject where there's a lot of people that are on one side of the fence wanting to defend things, and we might get those kind of people if they listen to this show, and they might not like what I have to say about it. But, I just don't – I just thought of it as it was a little bit, you went a little bit too far in one area maybe, but I kind of just took it as, The Rock kind of seemed like he was on something. A little happy. It's just, and he might have gone a little too far, but, he went a little far with a lot of things. And the New Day definitely benefited when they got to come out and talk about it the next week. So,
yeah. For sure. Yeah, and trust me, The Rock should be very happy every time he looks at his bank account.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, guys, it is time for us to go to another segment, and it was pretty much what we love. It's NXT, so we're going to talk to NXT, and don't forget, people, we also have some other stuff coming. Not only are we going to talk Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, and TNA, but we're also going to talk about Intergender. And when we talk about Intergender, we're talking about Intergender Wrestling and a few other things. We'll get into that more, but right now it's NXT.
WWE Developmental NXT.
So, NXT this week started with a Hype Bros and Vaudevillains match. It did not last very long. It seems like we're going with the Vaudevillains kind of turning here. Vaudevillains win. The more established team makes sense. I don't know. Anything y'all want to talk about here?
I want to talk about how the Vaudevillains, much like in times of old, facial hair meant to heal, and they in English now has a beard. 10 out of 10.
Gary?
Oh, man. To me, this is fine. I like both these tag teams, and so it was kind of hard for me to sit here and be like, oh, I want this one to win. But I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I think the Vaudevillains getting the victory is the right way to go. I like those guys. I don't think they have a lot of momentum going right now for me personally. I think they need to kind of re-spark something, kind of get back on track. I think this is a good way to do it.
Well, somebody that I think certainly has a lot of momentum going for her right now, Carmella. She had a sit-down interview where she got to tell us that her dad was a jobber, a wrestler. I did not know that she had wrestling in her blood at all. So that goes to show, people, that, nobody knows who the hell Paul Van Dale is, but NXT will let you know that happens. If that was WWE, Kevin Dunn would be like, who the hell is this guy? Can't have him on our TV. Let's have some more shaky cam instead. Like, no. Serious. Like, I feel like I'm going to throw up sometimes watching Raw. Just, does the camera really have to move that much? I mean, like, when you guys are watching anything else, does the camera just go, whoa? I'm just saying.
Well, you have to understand. I mean, his favorite movie is Cloverfield, so.
Yeah. Probably that. But Carmella has a match with Emma. I think you kind of just got all the kind of what Carmella has kind of made her thing. And she wins with a backslide. She doesn't win with that leg lock submission or whatever. So they kind of protected Emma a little bit. Do you feel like she should have had a more decisive win, or to kind of build up to the match for next week? Or
I'm going to personally say so. And the reason I say that is because how should I say this? I like Carmella. Especially after watching Breaking Ground, your heart goes out for her. You want her to do well, but not only that, she really hasn't been built to be one of the better female wrestlers. And so when you come into play and you're supposed to believe she's this contender for the Women's Championship, that's a good title, the Women's Championship, the NXT title, I think that, she needs to look strong. So I do have more of a feeling that, hey, she's definitely going to have an opportunity to beat Bayley. My fear is that they're going to put her against Bayley and then somehow they're going to scale down the match to reach Carmella. I want Carmella to go to the Bayley level.
I don't know if that's going to happen. I think they're, like, Carmella and Bayley are going to go out there and want to put on the best match possible. But I'm fine with this strictly because Carmella's booking has been very much underdog-ish, and her sort of getting the backslide over Emma, I think works towards that mystique that they have for her. And not to mention, your Divas division is incredibly deep right now in NXT, so giving Emma sort of this almost protected fall, I think works in the whole division's favor.
Yeah, Dana's still hurt, and you've got divas that are kind of still in that they're not. You have a pecking order of divas right now. Like, even though that you could probably argue Billie Kay and Peyton Royce should be bigger than they are, they're kind of still at that lower level, and you have ones that are even below them. So, Enzo and Cass squashed some guys. They're continuing to do that whole where these guys are more serious, but also kind of still being themselves a little bit when they come out. I don't know what this is building to now, because it seems like their deal with Dash and Dawson is done, so I don't know if they're just trying to change them a little bit to be more serious for the main roster, or do you think this means anything?
I think I don't know if their stuff with Dash and Dawson is done. But I have no problem with them trying out a different direction because they already know what works, and they're so over in NXT that if you change the formula slightly, you're going to be okay. So they're going to try to stretch out in different roles, and perfect place to do it is NXT.
Yeah, I'm right there with Paul on that. I mean, you can try. You have the ability to try new things to it.
I should note that Corey Graves is just wonderful on commentary. I just wanted to point that out. He's just so good. Like he really is able to capture a heel announcer, which King does that really well on SmackDown with Morrow too. But Corey Graves just does it just in a different way that also feels very modern to today.
He's very much a modern day Bobby the Brain Heenan for me on commentary.
Yeah. Do you get that, Kerry?
Yeah, that's a matter of respect too. I love Bobby the Brain Heenan, and I think he's got a big future. And if he continues on this path, I mean, we'll be seeing him pretty soon on a different level.
So they had 3 promos, each with the 3 guys involved in that main event from last week. Baron Corbin went into William Regal's office and kind of told him, hey, that deal with me losing. It better be involving me getting a rematch. And he's like, well, you lost, so you certainly are not getting a rematch. And Sami Zayn pretty much was kind of like, well, hopefully Rio makes the right choice. And Joe kind of was more authoritative about the fact that he won. You know, I thought that was just a decent build to that thing. I mean, there wasn't much to any of that. Same thing with Apollo Crews' promo, which once again I think he keeps getting better in that regard. And so I thought, you know, both Crews and Balor did well in their promos to kind of put over that this match means something, even though it's not for the title or whatever. You know, because they're still going after something that kind of got interrupted before. So. Then Asuka had the match with Santana Garrett. Santana probably had more offense on Asuka of anybody that's considered a quote-unquote jobber for her. Obviously, Santana has, you know, all the accolades to back her up in that format. But Asuka makes her tap out to the Asuka lock. Just a fun, like, 2-minute squash here for her. But I think, to me, I felt like Santana did enough to deserve another look. And what did you guys think? I know we didn't get a whole lot from her here.
Santana had maybe one of the best years of women wrestling last year. I can't name a title she didn't win. And I think she was holding 5 concurrently at one time last year. She's a tremendous talent. Somebody who's really grown, I think, since leaving TNA 2 years ago now, and somebody who definitely does deserve a second chance in the WWE. So I'm all for signing her. Asuka's great. Everybody, if you listen to the show often enough, you'll hear me talk about how much I love her murdering people. And while she didn't get a great chance to show off the murdering skills here, she's come so, like, she's so over in such a short period of time. It's just incredible.
It's just crazy. Like, she does not speak English, but you want to see her do stuff, and she has so much personality without having to say a word of a language that we understand, you know. And people make such a big deal about the whole, like, English thing and whatever. And I think Asuka proves that if you have a personality, you can get that over without, you know, even with the language barrier.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think she does a great job, and I think, you know, Tana Garrett did a great job in this match too. I think she deserves a lot of props, and you know, hey, WWE definitely has something here if they want to make something.
Well, and that's why I think people shouldn't worry about Nakamura, because if we're saying this about Asuka, Nakamura's got like a zillion more charismatic pieces in him.
Yeah, doesn't he speak? I mean,
yeah, he speaks English. You know, it's better than Tommy's. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny that, like, Kadani was saying, you know, he's the president of New Japan. He says he worries now anybody that says they're taking English classes. So we get our main event here. Apollo Crews taking on Finn Balor. This felt like it lasted longer than 12 minutes. But the big note here is that it seems like it felt like we're getting a little bit of a different Finn Balor, and then he accentuates that. They make a good point about the fact that it made Apollo Crews look strong because he had to go that extra mile and do the Bloody Sunday to win, which I should note is also a much more heelish finisher than, say, the coup de grace. So.
First of all, this match is really, really good. I don't want to take it from the performance that these guys turned in, because it's quite good and it's totally worth your time. I'm curious with Finn where you go, because what's kept him on top is not only his tremendous wrestling ability, but this mystique that they built around him. And if you mess with that, are you messing up a good formula too soon, or do they feel like they've run the course and they need some change up at the top of the ladder, or just some change to make it feel like Finn has a chink in the armor there that somebody can finally beat him? That's the curiosity here.
Yeah, that's interesting. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing here, and I'm kind of curious as well. I mean, is this what's going to be his downfall? Is this what they're going to, try to, take away? And, the chink of the armor is definitely going to be something big for someone else. So, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. It was great. Apollo Crews is definitely the next big guy, unless anybody else comes along that's just going to blow him away, which I don't know who is. This is just kind of honestly a sneak peek, or maybe not even a sneak peek, a glimpse, a flash in the pan of what we're going to see in the future. So this is cool. I was very happy with everything.
Yeah, that's NXT.
There you go, guys. Well, okay, man. We got some other great things to talk about. We have some, of course, other show reviews we're going to do. Don't forget Lucha Underground, TNA ROH. But before we get into those, guys, we have a little New Japan talk we're going to do, especially since we have to talk about the farewell show for Nakamura. And Sean, I think we have some music for that, or do we?
Yes.
All right.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
All right. So here we go, guys.
Yeah, I did the written review for Last Word on Sports. I actually had stayed up the day after till like 4 a.m. writing it, and then the guys decided that they were not going to post it on that Sunday, and I wasted my entire time doing that. I could have just done it on Sunday afternoon and slept, but whatever. People have their decisions that they want to make. Anyway, the show really wasn't anything. You got to remember these things are house shows. I thought that Los Ingobernables de Japón, Naito and Evil and Bushi, they continue to keep getting better as a team, and it kind of still set up the whole thing. And Bushi and Kushida really put on a thing to make you get excited for their match. Bushi countered Kushida a couple like some of his big move counters, and honestly, I feel like Bushi is really taking this whole thing with Ingobernables and just taking that to the next level. He really is the guy that's shining through this entire thing. Naito's great, and he's gonna obviously get his shot at the title and all that stuff, but obviously there was a pecking order with Evil was supposed to be the next guy, and I really think Bushi's totally surpassing him. I don't know, did you watch the whole show, Paul, or did you just watch the...
I watched pieces of it that interested me, and of course, we're all great fans of Naito and the Los Ingobernables people here. And I agree with you. I think Bushi realizes the opportunity he has. He's had a lot of bad luck with injuries. A lot of people didn't really think he was going to amount to very much. And suddenly he's in this position of being in this super hot angle right now, and I think he knows what he has on his hands. And he's going to take this opportunity, and he's going to try to make his best out of it, and especially in a division that's lacking sort of top Japanese talent right now. Bushi can certainly be that heel that runs against Kushida's, status in the division right now.
Yeah, Bushi's he's been really great, and I think we did get to see one of the young lions in Kawato here. He was in the first match with David Finlay. He doesn't show you a whole lot, but I mean what he does was fine. It's all basic stuff, obviously being young lion, and Finlay just shows you that he's so much just light years ahead of him. Just both Finlay and Jay White. And I really thought in the match with Jay White and Yoshihashi, Jay White probably had the closest shot at victory out of any of the young lions so far. Like when he does the where he does the crossface and he switches it over to like that regal stretch, I was like, oh my god, is he gonna win? Like this is kind of crazy. Like you don't see them do that too often. So I thought that was well done. Did you watch this stuff?
Yeah, because I'm super, like, the Young Lions and the way that New Japan's sort of been handling them, I'm really interested in, especially with the Lionsgate idea coming up and then starting to announce cards for it. They have Jay White sort of at the top of the card there, which I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he does there. The thing I love most, though, is that Finlay really gets to show off how explosive he is. Jay White gets to show you how he's much more than just a high flyer. And that stretch you were talking about there at the end, I think really shows off at the ground game. And that's something I really think has been enjoyable about watching these guys go from basic moves to here's some more of what they're about. It is a great reason to get invested in these guys.
Agreed. Completely. Did you watch the 6-man that comes before the main event?
No.
Well, they had Kenny Omega. It was basically like Michael Elgin did a lot of his, power stuff and whatever. And Kenny Omega took a lot of that offense. Michael Elgin freaking did a Elgin bomb to the outside on Anderson, and I was scared he was going to die. Like they had to hold him and then bring him down slowly because if they didn't catch him there, that would have been a very scary moment. Kenny Omega took a lot of offense, but then at the end he basically just kneed the total crap out of Juice Robinson to get the win. He looked really strong, and then he did this nasty reverse Rana on Elgin too. So even though he took a lot of offense during the match, he looked strong at the end. And then you get the Nakamura send-off. This entire thing, if you have not watched it, I don't know if they have it anywhere besides New Japan World. I'm sure there's a place on Daily Motion that might have grabbed this. You need to go watch this because if you're a Nakamura fan at all, and all of us are here, he's the reason why I really, love New Japan now. And obviously he's leaving, but him being there and having that impact on me makes me continue to watch it. But the video at the beginning showing all of his, from the beginning to, the end with his match with AJ, and then, the crowd having all the Nakamura stuff. I bought a Nakamura shirt after watching the show, which was a day after they took it off sale on Pro Wrestling Tees when I didn't even have them. I basically took my, last $30 basically and bought the shirt. I really shouldn't have. Having to go beg someone for $10 later is not a good idea. Anyway, I thought the match was really good, but it was not so much about Nakamura. It was more about building to the two big matches that are happening on this card that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. It was basically another Ishii and Shibata match, but then at the end, you had all the stuff with Nakamura and whatever. But let's talk about the match first. I know, Gary, you watched it too. What did you guys think? I really enjoyed the stuff when Tanahashi and Nakamura were in there by themselves too, because it was just a picture for New Japan as well.
Yeah, I do too, and it was fun to watch, and it just kind of makes you a little bit sad to know you're not gonna get a chance to do that again, not for a little while at least, not for a while. And 3-year contract means he's gonna be away at least from New Japan for 3 years, and who knows who's gonna still be there if he was to return in those 3 years. So, yeah, this was fun. It was great. It was to me personally, just a great way to conclude, and I don't know about you, Paul. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
As much as I really enjoyed this match, especially for the snapshot of what New Japan has really tried to become in the last 3 to 4 years, and 6 guys who are immensely responsible for where they're at right now, getting sort of that spotlight to say goodbye to one of, if not the reasons why New Japan has not only become resurged in popularity in Japan, but has become more international. Saying Nakamura, but you get all these other little great things encompassed in the package. Whether you think Ishii or Goto or Shibata have really meant a lot, and I don't think you can underestimate their value at this point.
Yeah, Ishii is Nakamura's like best friend, and Okada is basically, what Okada does at the end of this match when they have all of Chaos come in. I think that tells you all you need to know about how much Okada and Nakamura, like, they mean to each other. I started crying when Okada started crying. I'm watching this at like 9 in the morning, and I'm sitting there going, why the hell am I crying right now? It was a very emotional thing. Like, everybody's just in there, and and Tanahashi and Nakamura, like, they came in together, and they're the two, stalwarts of New Japan that have been there for that long. And just amazing to me too that obviously the stuff with Goto where he was beating up Okada all this time was work, because he just got booed every time he did something.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was unmerciful at times. Poor guy. Gary, I'm sure you just, what did you guys think about just this whole thing at the end? I know it was like watching one of the like your heroes, and he gets taken off on Okada's shoulders and everything. It was just, man, I don't think you could have asked for anything better than that.
Oh no, not at all. It was just a great send off, and it sounds kind of funny, but it's like at the end of a video game. If you remember back in the Nintendo days and things like that, they'd always do these kind of carry off in the sunset, and it was just like this victory party and a parade, and that's almost what this felt like. It was sad, but on the other hand, it was kind of a celebration of Nakamura, and that's the way I felt about it. I think it was great the way they did everything.
There's a trope in anime, and if you're into anime, I'm going to bore you for about 5 minutes here, where if you see cherry blossom trees in bloom, and you have all the petals flying around, that something terrible is about to happen, and it usually has to refer to death. And Japan looks at dying very differently than I feel like the rest of the world does. They see there's a sadness to it, but there's also a beauty. And that's sort of what the cherry blossom tree represents, is the cycle of that. And that's very much what I think comes to mind when I'm watching this. Because you have this really good match. You have Nakamura giving his farewell promo. But before we even get started, of course, Omega comes out to interrupt it to be the glorious heel that he is, and Tanahashi reveals that he's X for their match at the New Beginning in Nagita. But Nakamura gives this very sorrowful yet almost happy goodbye promo where he obviously, him and Okada are crying because they're losing something very important to him. But there's this wonderful sort of wistful exit where you have Okada's carrying Nakamura around on his shoulders and all this stuff, and it's just, I think, a perfect sort of capturing of how a goodbye is treated in a different culture than ours.
And even the press conference at the end where he's sitting on that bench, and he isn't only asking questions about himself. He's asked questions about Tanahashi and all this stuff, and the cards going forward, and Okada and everything. And it's like, normally you don't get all, if it was here in America, you would get questions just about him and his legacy and whatever. And that also shows, like, he's answering those questions, like, just saying, oh, I think that the company's going to be fine, and, like, Okada's going to do well, and, Tanahashi's Tanahashi, and he's going to go beat Omega, and he kept doing the X sign, like, as a joke, and just, I thought that was just, you kind of got everything that you're used to seeing with Nakamura. He's still being his jovial self, but he's also obviously showing emotion, and he himself didn't even think he was going to get this emotional, but he does,
The thing that I loved most about that post-game thing was Nakamura saying over and over again that he wouldn't be doing this if he didn't think that guys like Okada or Tanahashi would be able to carry New Japan. And there's a loyalty amongst wrestlers to certain promotions. You'll see it, like Kabushi is a great modern-day example. They still have the DDP letters after his name because that's still the promotion he's associated with. There's this loyalty thing that you don't see this often, and when it happens, it's this huge deal, and I think it really sends that point home.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people were kind of upset about the whole Tanahashi being X, but I think with Nakamura leaving, with AJ leaving, and obviously they have a plan for all Suzuki Gun and Noah, whatever. They just had somebody else join Suzuki Gun now. Seems like that thing just keeps growing. You're not really going to get a whole lot of new people, so you have to go with the people that are your stars. And Tanahashi is that only one that wasn't booked for something.
Not to mention Tanahashi is their guy, and if you're trying to get Kenny Omega over, nobody better to work with. Nobody better to work with in Japan than Tanahashi.
Yeah, I mean, you get to knock AJ out of the Bullet Club, so now you're the leader, and you pin Nakamura, and then if you beat Tanahashi, I mean, that's a huge triumvirate of people to beat, and now become not only a champion, but cement yourself as a heavyweight too.
Yeah, and then if this goes even further to him trying to knock off Okada, I mean, you have a perfect Gaijin heel in Omega ready to step up, so. And maybe a different way that AJ or Finn ever could, because Omega is much more outlandish and all this other stuff you got going on with him, so.
Yeah, Omega's much more when you think about that classic evil heel, he is that guy.
Mm-hmm.
That AJ and Finn were not. I mean, what do you think, Gary? About all this. I mean, when you saw it happening, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about him discussing the future of New Japan and all that, I mean, I think you guys kind of covered that. I mean, for the most part, I don't think I could add a lot, but. I think he's right on a lot of it. And, when you're talking about you guys just talked at the Bullet Club, I mean, it's kind of weird, but I think those guys are in very capable hands. They don't need AJ. They don't need Finn Balor. They've got a guy in Omega that's just going to put him to the next level, I think, in my personal opinion. I think he fits that group perfectly. Situations like that are going to work out for New Japan. I don't have any fear about what's going to happen in the future. Nakamura is a great talent, but he's not their only talent. So, I mean, they're going to do just fine.
Well, we're going to transition here into this. I should note that it's been revealed now that Gallows and Anderson's last dates are going to be the 2 ROH shows on the 19th and 20th that will be shown on New Japan World, so we'll be talking about those in a couple of weeks as well. So this first New Beginning card on 211 in Osaka, which will be that Thursday morning at 3 a.m. Eastern, and then we'll be reviewing it that night on our next episode, obviously. So this is we're gonna just do our preview and predictions here for this. This is obviously the bigger of the 2 cards that has 4 title matches on it, and a few other filler things. So, now that you don't have, you do have Fujin and Rajin, who have already joined Okamura over there in CMLL, and they have their green pants and orange pants that they're wearing. You can go find a picture of them out there in CMLL. And so David Finlay and Jay White are obviously taking their spot of the 2 young lions that will be constantly warring against each other on a lot of these cards. We see them tag a lot, but we haven't seen them go at it too much. So this should really be interesting.
I'm really looking forward to this, especially if it only gets hopefully it gets more than 5 minutes. I hope for 8 to 10, and really give these guys a platform to go out there and show you what they can do. Because I mean, I won't say they're a footnote compared to the other two, because obviously they're going to get preference because they're homegrown Japanese talent. But these two guys have a lot of potential, and if you haven't seen a lot of them, I think there's a great opportunity to check these two out. I'm going to say Jay White, but man, this should be really good.
I'm going to say Jay too because he's been there longer.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that one.
So you got Kazushi Sakuraba, Yoshihashi, and Gedo against Jushin Thunder Liger, Tiger Mask, and Ryusuke Taguchi. This one is, I'm going to assume that Chaos is going to win here. It's going to be your standard 6-man goofiness. Anytime Liger and Gedo get in the ring, though, it's quite comical. I'll say that.
This should be fun. I'm going to go with Chaos as well, but gosh, man, this is going to be tough. I mean, it'll be fun. I just don't know how much enjoyment I'm going to get out of this.
Right.
Yeah. I think I'm going with you guys on that one. I really do think Chaos could be the one.
So you got Hiroshi Tenzan and Satoshi Kojima in Tenkoji against Yuji Nagata and Manabu Nakanishi. So all 4 old men in the match together. I've heard rumblings of Tenkoji being the next challengers for. I mean, not that they have a zillion amount of challengers for Makabe and Hanma, but they are an established tag team. I would think that they get the win here.
I'm going to go that way too. I'm all about Kojima too. I love Satoshi Kojima to the moon and back. So more of him is good.
Definitely. I think you guys are right on this one as well. I mean, wow. I'm right there with you.
So we get Michael Elgin and Juice Robinson. Juice Robinson constantly being featured on these cards. Kushida against Los Ingobernables de Japón. Naito, Evil, and Bushi. Los Ingobernables have not lost yet, so I'm going to go that way.
This will be pretty good. Juice has come a long way. Kushida and Elgin always deliver. Los Ingobernables, of course, are amazing. I'm leaning towards them as well. But man, that other team is I mean, they got Juice, so he'll probably end up being the one to take the ball.
You know what? I think I'm going to go the opposite way because, we've been picking alike. So I'll just go the other way. That way we kind of different.
Go against your boy?
You know what? I know Naito. I love Naito. I just know he's not always successful. They don't always give him the ball. So I think this time I'm going to go, hopefully I'm wrong on that, and they do let him win.
So you got the never openweight 6-man titles, Toriano and the Briscoes against Fale, Yujiro, and Tamatanga. We are having those ROH shows really close, so it's possible that Yano and the Briscoes could retain them here. But I'm going to go with the Bullet Club team of getting the win of these titles here.
My line of thinking is more along your first one, so I think it's Yano and the Briscoes retaining, and they'll lose them during the crossover shows.
Yeah, I was Paul on that one. I think that they're not going to lose them that fast.
So you got the IWGP Junior Tag titles in a 3-way, Young Bucks, Red Dragon, and Ricochet and Matt Sydal. This should be pretty fantastic. I'm going to say the Bucks retain.
I'm going Bucks retaining too. Stability is still what I'm after here.
Yes. That would be good.
Yeah, and I'm going Bucks too.
This is going to be hard for them to top their Wrestle Kingdom match, but Shibata and Ishii get to go at it one more time. I'm really hoping Shibata wins. Please don't make us go through. We're going to have 5 matches of the same 2 people again.
The only way these two could top their matches at Wrestle Kingdom is if one of them decapitates the other with a head kick. That is the only way. Please don't go that far.
Yeah.
Shibata to retain.
Oh boy. Jeez. Yeah, Shibata.
So you got Tanahashi and Great Bash Shield against Anderson, Gallows, and Omega. They did have the Bullet Club team win at the Road to show, but I think they might win here again to set up some heat for the two matches that are happening on the Valentine's Day card. So I'm going to go with Bullet Club here.
I'm going with the faces. I'm going to Tanahashi to pin Carl.
Ooh, I'm going Bullet Club.
And then you have your IWGP Heavyweight title match between Kazuchika Okada and Hiroki Goto. This show is apparently not selling that well, whereas the Valentine's Day show, which has the junior title match and the IC title match with Tanahashi and Omega, is selling well. And it was selling well when they just had X. So this is going to be interesting to see if they blame this on Goto or if it affects Okada a little bit. But either way, Okada should probably win this match. This is a total filler feud for Okada here.
I'm going with Okada too. I really hope this match knocks it out of the ballpark, though.
Yeah, their G1 match was pretty awesome, so I'm hoping the same thing here.
I hope your guys are right in Okada for sure.
I just wanted to bring to light about the Lionsgate card that this is pretty much, New Japan's NXT, or what they're going to start it trying to be. This has a mixture of old guys with a lot of Noah guys. So, like, if you don't watch, there's ways where you can watch the Noah shows or other Japanese wrestling shows aside from New Japan, which has New Japan World or whatever. So, some of these things are going to be interesting. Like, this is going to be the debut of Honjo, which is this the monster guy, or this is the other young lion, right?
The other one, not the one that looks jacked to all hell.
Yeah, and Tanguchi, who recently unmasked and is no longer Maybach, or Taniguchi, sorry. So, and then you get Kawato again, and you're going to get to see Hitoshi Kumano. David Finlay and Taji Ishimori should be fantastic. Jay White and Ogawa should be pretty good. I don't know who's smoking something, but I don't know about Nakanishi and Quiet Storm.
The most WTF match booked this year so far.
Just wow.
Oh, man.
And, Tenkoji getting Captain Noah and Yanagi. I don't know about that either. Nakajima, who's supposed to be one of the guys that they're going to be kind of pushing. I think he's going to be the next guy to challenge Segura. So he's going to get a nice little match with Juice Robinson. And the main event for that show is Yuji Nagata against Mitsuhiro Kitamiya, who is also supposed to be a pretty good guy. I have not seen him wrestle yet, but I feel bad for Nagata. He complains about where he is in the cards, and he's sitting here on the Lionsgate show. So.
If this thing kicks off, and I'm going to watch this show out of just sheer interest, because there's not a lot on here that really grabs you as far as, oh my gosh, I have to watch this, but...
Right.
If this takes off, like NXT does, or has, and you start seeing just all this influx of talent from all over, the indie scene, because that's what New Japan wants Lion Gate to be. It's the place for Lions to get extra matches, and it's a place for them to give indie guys sort of tryouts. And I say indie in loose quotations because it's a lot harder to tell in Japan sometimes. In Japan. And like, this takes off, and you start bringing all these guys from Michinoku Pro and Osaka Pro, and, like, places that aren't big and have contracts, so, DDT and places like that. How this could just create some of the most ridiculously hyped matches ever for Japan. So this is a really neat idea that I hope takes off. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, me too. We'll probably. I mean, I guess you and I will confer, and if there's good enough stuff on here, we might cover it on the show. So we'll let you know, Gary, if
right.
you should watch it or whatever.
Sounds good, guy. All right. Well, we talked a lot of New Japan, but we have some other stuff to talk about on the show. Of course, we have 3 other reviews to do here, and one of them is Lucha Underground. So why don't we go ahead and get into that and kind of talk about what happened on this?
You forgot to send me the Lucha Underground thing again.
I don't think we have it anymore. We may have to recreate that one.
Ah,
so we'll get it done.
Well, take it away, Paul.
All right. So we open up backstage. Puma is working out, and he's flashing back to the moment he lost the championship to Will Mortis. When Pentagon walks in, thanks him for the distraction last week, and says, "Hey man, we're going to be tagging up tonight against the Disciples of Death. I'm going to keep on doing my thing, and when I'm done with them, I'm coming for you." And then they have this really cool kung fu fight scene that lasts like 20 seconds. And they just sort of end up in a draw and growl at each other, and it's kind of weird but awesome.
And Puma does this, like the flip kick, and hits Pentagon in the face. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's kind of a fun way to start the show. Weird but fun.
That's what I meant to. I think I've kept forgetting to say it. Like anytime they introduce a character, whatever, which you get to see 2 of those on this show. It feels like a Mortal Kombat character entering the fight or something, instead of like this wrestler coming. I mean, I know it makes sense for this show, but that's what I get every time. It's like, especially with Cobra Moon or whatever, it's like, okay, I'm just picturing this wall of people that I'm supposed to be selecting. And I'm selecting Cobra Moon, and oh, here comes the video that's playing.
Like, that sounds like a total Mortal Kombat name, too.
Yeah.
But we quickly cut Will Mortis is back on his throne, except he has a sling now because Pentagon Jr. broke his arm last week. It was awesome. Striker asked Vampiro if that was done on his orders, and Vampiro deflects the question. So, intrigue. We get to our first match. Johnny Mundo taking on Killshot. This was okay. Nothing to write home about, but, I mean, Mundo ends up getting the win in a fine match, I would say.
Yeah, it was okay. And, once again, you just get a chance to see Johnny Mundo do his thing. And I think that's what people care about. You've got to have him look strong, and that's what he did here.
I did like that, he's a heel now, so a lot of he still does some of the same moves, but he does them slower to kind of make the crowd mad. And then Killshot with that DDT in the corner and the 450 was pretty awesome. But yeah, I don't know about Striker. You kind of need to cut it with the making the religious symbolisms when the end of the world is happening. I could do without that, but yeah.
You get what you're gonna get with Striker,
Yeah,
Mundo decides to cut a promo even on Mil Muertes, saying he's coming for the championship. However, Brian Cage takes offense to this, comes out playing a face out of nowhere seemingly because we ended last season with him as a heel. He's ready to also compete for that championship, and Mundo and Cage sort of get into it. Cage challenges to a match. Mundo ends up running away and tries to come back in to beat him up, and Cage ends up beating him up first. Fun little thing there. Dude, I'm looking forward to it. I think these two can work really well with each other, just with freaky ways to do stuff.
Yeah, because Cage is going to do some like crazy freaking throws and whatever. Yeah.
So we get to cut to a segment I'm sure Gary was in love with. Marty the Moth is back in that basement where he's keeping Sexy Star, and he has a sister coming, and he has to he feels like it's time to take Sexy Star back to the temple so she can spread her wings and stuff like that. But she won't be alone, because the sister's coming. And Marty just plays this off in like the best psychopathic, weird American Psycho way that you can't speak highly enough about.
Oh, definitely. I think he did a great job, and just the eeriness of it just works. And I'm telling you, this year they are doing a bang-up job on having some of these like darker parts of it, of what we would expect of some of these just certain characters. Now all the characters are kind of come a demented side in a way, and I just love this. It is a lot of fun to watch.
Couldn't agree with you more. And that's a really nice thing. All these characters are nuanced enough to where they work both ways no matter what they're doing. But we have some established characters. We have the Darewolf, PJ Black, coming in this video package. She beats up some bikers. Kind of cool. Justin Gabriel just making the rounds.
It's just like, man, the Kung Fu movie just happened in front of me. I don't know what's going on, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, at first, for a minute there, I thought, am I watching, what's that show that AMC had now I'm blanking on the name of the show now, but
I watched it. I really enjoyed it.
That Freak Show or whatever?
No, Borderlands, no.
Into the Badlands.
Into the Badlands, yes. That, like, for a minute there, I was like, are we watching that? Oh, no, we're not.
It's a great show if you can watch it, folks. Fight scenes are amazing. We get the PJ Black's debut match against the Mac. Man, I cannot talk tonight. Pretty impressive. I'm not a fan of PJ losing, but it is what it is.
They've done a lot. They try to protect the Mac. It seems like quite often, unless he was fighting Cage, and in that case, no. But yeah, I mean, this match was okay. There was some, obviously PJ Black got to have his moments, and Mac, for being a big guy, can still move around. But I didn't think this was the best debut.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sean. It was okay. It was just, I don't know. It was fair. I know that, but it wasn't the best.
We cut to another tape thing here again. This is the Cobra Moon segment. She debuts next week. I should really look up who's under that hood, because I don't know. We followed that up with our main event, the handicap match. Prince Puma, Pentagon taking on the Disciples of Death. This, I really enjoyed the whole way through. The Disciples obviously happy with both these guys. They're trying to keep Puma away, and now Pentagon's obviously put his head into the ring by breaking Mil Muertes' arm. Pentagon and Puma win clean as a sheet, and I have a questionable decision, but one I was ultimately okay with.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, your trios champions are being, it's Cheerleader Melissa.
Oh, awesome.
So, your trios champions are essentially losing. Yes, these are two main event level guys, but they're also losing in a handicap match, and it's a bit, you would expect them not to, especially because these are the guys that are kind of your lackeys for your Mil Muertes, who's in charge. So I didn't particularly care for that, but you do get a tease of the Pentagon and Puma going against each other, and that I certainly want to see.
I'm in total agreement with that. I mean, everybody knows how much of a fan of Pentagon I am, but Puma is another one of those guys I'm a big fan of too. So that's something that is going to be exciting to watch for sure.
Absolutely. And then, we pop off the show. The new Dragon Azteca is meditating, and someone in the shadows is sort of speaking to him about the power of the mask, and talking about which path he's going to take. And it turns out that the mystery man is Rey Mysterio.
Even though that voice is like, they didn't try to hide it at all.
Oh boy. Yeah, that was kind of funny. But,
cool little segment. There's a lot of intrigue going into next week, and I mean, another episode that I think Lucha Underground knocked out of the park story-wise. Maybe not wrestling-wise, but story-wise for sure.
Exactly.
Right, yeah, the wrestling was better last week, but the story, good stuff.
For sure. So, all right, guys, that is Lucha Underground. We hope you enjoyed that. We've got a couple more show reviews to do, but before we do, we have a little segment here, and we're going to have a little discussion about something that we find kind of interesting because Lucha Underground presents this on a normal basis. It is actually a big part of their show because they have tried to sell the show through this, and that's intergender wrestling. The creators of the show really believe in it. They believe that it could be the future, and they stand by what they believe in, which is fine and dandy.
In fact, they even tried to sell Triple H and Canyon Ceman on intergender wrestling. You can imagine what Triple H thought of that.
So, I mean, you've got that going on, and there's a lot of other people like Triple H who disagree and say that, intergender wrestling doesn't have a place in wrestling. It's not good. It doesn't do well. But, that brings up this question, Paul. I mean, in your eyes, how do you feel like intergender wrestling affects the world of wrestling? And not only that, is Lucha Underground right, or are these other companies right?
I think intergender wrestling has its place much like any sort of type of wrestling does. I don't think it would ever fly in WWE simply because of how long they've been around, how much they've established their style, and that's just not what they're going to do. And that's totally fair. There are other promotions where it flies much more, and places that promote Lucha, especially in my opinion, could definitely get away with it because it's much more about. I don't want to say it's less fighting based because that's not true, but it's more flashy. It's more. You feel like they're on even keel whenever you're watching the matches. And Lucha Underground, to their I guess take away from didn't do a terrific job with this during season 1, and season 2 so far with what we got with Mill and oh Jesus, Evil East last week was a good step in that direction because I feel like it told the story well and it helped out everything that they were going for. Chikara is another promotion that's had success with this, primarily with Sarah Del Rey, to a slightly lesser degree with Heidi Lovelace, and now we're going to see what happens with Princess Kimberly as the Grand Champion. But it is a promotion that's done very well by it, and is another promotion that seems to want to stick by having intergender wrestling as a thing. I'm not going to say it works for everybody, because there are certainly promotions that shouldn't be touching it. I'm looking at like Japan, for example. Strong Style I don't feel like is great for intergender hardcore wrestling. I don't know would go well with intergender, simply because of how domestic violence could really flare up in people's minds whenever they see maybe a man hit a woman with a chair or putting her through a table or whatever. But I think it does have a place in wrestling. I just don't know if it's every promotion's cup of tea, and I don't know if every promotion should try to flock towards this idea. But there are certain ones that it's certainly proven successful for.
Yeah. And John, I definitely want to know your opinion about this. But the other interesting factor is if this isn't everybody's cup of tea, is it okay for Lucha Underground just to stay where they're at and not grow, or is it something that maybe they should sacrifice to grow?
Paul.
Okay. Yeah, Paul, you can answer that.
I don't know if it's something that should be sacrificed because it's still a very new idea for Lucha Underground. Wow, I totally blanked there for a second. When it comes to maybe sacrificing to grow, I don't know, especially if they make it a part of their core identity. Their identity is set sort of in this crazy over-the-top world that they have here. And if intergender wrestling becomes a nice addition to that, then I certainly wouldn't sacrifice it because it's part of what makes you who you are.
Okay, fair enough. Now, Sean, I mean, I want you to answer this question. I'm really curious how you feel about it.
I mean, to me, I'm not the biggest fan of intergender wrestling. I think in Lucha Underground, I don't have a problem with it because I see Lucha Underground. It's not a wrestling show. It's a novella masquerading as a wrestling show with like superheroes and horror characters, and you got a thing that eats people. I mean, when you got that going on, I mean, I can't really take it seriously. You got to turn your brain off when you watch Lucha Underground. You just enjoy it for what it is. You watch it for what it is, and you enjoy it. It's the same thing with Lucha in a way, like what Paul was saying. It's the same thing when you've got these exoticos and the minis and everybody that all wrestle in the same match together, and you've got intergender tag team champions, and with the masks on and everything, they also seem like superheroes. It doesn't seem like what you see in a WWE ring or TNA or even in Japan or whatever. It feels different. They also feel like superheroes in a way. So I don't have a problem with it in Lucha at all. I can buy it there. Just in other forms, it's hard for me to like. I just don't. It doesn't work in a WWE product because I just don't buy it. Like it's, if you wanted to do, say, I think I relate this more to like this is why MMA has like weight classes, because like I just can't see a like. All of a sudden, I'm supposed to believe that Sasha Banks is going to beat up Mark Henry. I can't. It doesn't matter how you present it to me. I just cannot. Like, it's not going to happen because, in a way, just like what we saw with Mil Muertes, even though they did it well, he eventually just took her down. And that's probably what would happen in most scenarios. And I think, people misconstrue this whole thing, and and if somebody wants to come attack me that I'm being sexist by saying this. I'm not. I'm saying that I think people just fall too far into this, like, oh, it's being progressive, and you're saying that no. It's not saying that women, can't do what men do. Yes, they can. Women can certainly have matches, and they can certainly outdo the men. And there are women that are better wrestlers than many male wrestlers. But I'd much rather watch the two women go at it. I'd much rather watch the two women, not in Lucha Underground. I'm not talking about Lucha Underground in a sense. I'm saying that I think in order for when Univision, when these bigger cable companies see this, and you're presenting this show as a package, and you're saying, okay, here's what this is, here's what we do, this is all these things that we do. When they look at the intergender wrestling, that's going to be one thing that they go, yeah, I don't know about that. When you're trying to say, we're going to put a sponsor behind this, I don't know there's going to be a sponsor. I don't know there's going to be an advertiser that's going to say, I'm going to welcome that, and I'm going to say that's okay. And that's where I think that you go around bragging about that, you're not going to get off El Rey Network. And maybe they shouldn't get off El Rey Network, because if you get off El Rey Network, then you won't be Lucha Underground, because then it'll be like what happened with Destination America, it'll be what happened with Spike TV. The network will start getting their hands in it, and it'll become something else.
Exactly. I could just imagine if American Horror Story left FX and they sent that over to, NBC. That show would be nothing. It would be cleaned up so much. It would be so scrubbed clean of all this grittiness and all the shock factor, all the blood, anything that they wanted to put into place would pretty much get scrubbed down, and you would just get a watered-down version of it. I think the same goes for Lucha Underground and the fact that they can do these kind of things because of the genre that it is in the world of wrestling. But not only that, it's on a network that will allow them to do the things that they do. They
fit right in with the Kung Fu movies and the Quentin and the Kill Bills and all the stuff that gets shown on that channel. You put it on something else, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Exactly. And in intergender wrestling, it's the same way, like you said, John. I mean, it works fine. Lucha Underground, it's its place. Even some of these other wrestling promotions that are not big, if they want to do it, that's fine. But if you're expecting to go any place that's a large format where companies are going to be involved, corporate entities, that's where you're going to be in trouble. That's where you're going to have it stopped and kind of put in your face that, no, you can't do that. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. That's to everybody's discretion. That's a selective answer.
But what Paul brought up, I think, is important because we have this problem in America with domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put this on TV, even though it is fake, they're not really out there trying to kill each other or whatever. In Lucha Underground, you believe it more, but when you put it on WWE or you put it on something else, it's still seen as a sort of pseudo sport. So again, you're trying to get people to believe in what is happening on this show that you're watching, and when they see that, and then if you go a little bit too far, or how do you know what too far is? Does that turn people off to your product completely? Even if that's a segment, just one segment on your show, does it turn them off completely? And like my wife was just telling me that she thinks the whole thing is, it works in like superhero movies and whatever, because that whole point is trying to teach you the whole, like, women can do what men can do and whatever, but like she just thinks that it's kind of a silly concept, and it may promote things that are bad in a way. Like, all these kids that are growing up now, if you get all these people that say they're being progressive and they promote this, and all of a sudden, okay, well, you're going to have this belief that no matter what situation you're in, the size difference is not going to matter, and you're going to just be able to just take down this 400-pound person that's coming at you. It's like, there's still reality based on that. And I think, I'm just saying that we need to be careful about how far we push this without also teaching the reality behind it, I think people are just so into being this progressive thing, they don't see the other things that are behind that, because like what Paul's saying, what if you get into a crowd and the man's beating the woman and they're cheering?
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel? Like, wouldn't that make you feel weird? Like, I know I would feel uncomfortable. Like, all of a sudden, the crowd starts cheering the fact that this man's beating this woman. Like, and then vice versa. What if this woman's just beating the total shit out of this guy and, like, just saying things that cross the line and whatever. I mean, hey, I know that's, whatever.
You been peeking into my bedroom?
I don't want to know, Gary.
Or my wife beats me and tells everyone that she was nice. Yeah.
Wow, Gary.
I'm not talking about S&M or anything. I was just talking legitimate beatings.
You probably could have passed with the S&M, just that other stuff. You just sent it to a whole other world with the beatings. I mean,
I'm kidding. My wife is a sweet lady, even though she is Irish and very dangerous. So,
yes,
yeah. So, no, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're coming from on this, and I think the important thing is that we know what we're watching, what we're getting ourselves into. I alluded to American Horror Story being a television show. Most people are not going to flip it to that show and stay on it if they don't like horror. You could be the biggest Lady Gaga fan in the world, and if you're not a horror fan, you're not going to watch that show. Trust me. So I think the same goes here. You could be a big wrestling fan, but you may find yourself not enjoying Lucha Underground because of this intergender stuff. It's to your discretion.
Well, and not even the intergender stuff. Just a lot of people don't like the fact that it's shot like a movie. A lot of people don't like the fact all the backstage stuff kind of takes them out of it, and whatever.
Exactly.
Just
the one thing I'll say about this, and my wife actually kind of this discussion with her, the thought process too is, she would be fine with it. It's whatever to her. But the thing is when it comes to a child watching it, that's a different story, because children are, learning and they're figuring out the world, and sometimes that is through television, even though it really shouldn't be. Television teaches them things. And for like even my daughter who's only 2, or even just a kid who's 6 or 7, I'm not sold that I want them to see a man beating up a woman, just because I don't want them to think that's normal. I don't want that to be a thought process in their mind that that could be okay, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's just my point of view. I'm sure there are people who would argue against that, and that's fine. I think this is an interesting debate / discussion, because there's various ways you can look at it, and something we didn't talk about tonight. I'm sure someone could put on our Facebook page.
Paul, what do you think about like all the stuff that we said?
I think it's sort of like, I mean, as you brought up, domestic violence is a problem, and see, I don't have a problem with intergender wrestling at all. I think it's a different way to look at wrestling, and somebody who counts himself among somebody who likes to believe he's progressive. I absolutely think it's a idea that plays up to stuff you read in comics or see in stuff like that. You do have to be careful with it, though, especially sometimes when wrestling is still perceived as reality by children or by people who just maybe aren't in the know or what have you. And maybe that's why I was trying to get it, is that Lucha is flashier, it looks less real at times, and maybe that's just what I was getting at. But, I mean, everybody's going to have their own opinion on this. And I don't know if any of them are totally right or totally wrong or somewhere in between, but it's certainly an interesting idea that will continue to be played with for a while. And it's not going to go away, especially with where we're at society-wise.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, you were bringing up the whole, like, Sarah Del Rey thing, and, like, I know she had but that was seen more as, like, sort of like an athletic competition, right? The ones between her and Cesaro.
It's one of the better wrestling matches I've ever seen. It's still, like, it's a straight-up wrestling match.
Right, yeah, so it's more like just two athletes, like, going at it or whatever. It's not necessarily like, oh, there's this blood feud going on, and, like, this man just really hates this woman, or this woman really hates this man, and, just, it's a very more like a sport sort of thing to it. Like, I didn't have a problem. I've seen one of those matches, and I didn't have a problem with that either, because it was just, like you said, it was just two people wrestling. But it's kind of hard sometimes to always be able to present it that way. Like, it's that, how can you go away from just presenting it this way, and then how far is too far?
Exactly. So, we're not going to solve the world's issues tonight. This will be one of those we won't. But that's okay. This is a great discussion, like I said. And, if you have your thoughts on it, please post them on our Facebook page. Let us know what you think. Heck, when you rate and review us, you can put them in the review, whatever you think. I don't care. Just put those 5 stars and what you think. We're all set. But we have a few other things we got to do on the show. And one of those is talk some Ring of Honor. So we'll be right back.
We'll make that our question of the week. What do you think about intergender wrestling? Tell us on the Facebook group, on Twitter at Wrestling2Max, WrestlingToTheMax@gmail.com, where however you want to get at us. Let us know your views on it. But yes, as Gary said, we do need to get into ROH here. Go for it, Paul.
Alright, so we open up Ring of Honor this week with Roderick Strong defending the television title against Osaka, who's a vastly underrated worker in my opinion, mostly because he likes to do death matches, but the dude is also just straight up good wrestler. They have a fun, I think this went about 10 minutes, fun match. Roderick Strong ends up retaining. Masada, however, looks pretty good defeat. Continues this Roderick Strong versus the world idea as well here. So, what do you guys think?
I don't get a chance to see Masada a whole lot, to be honest with you. But I thought he did a great job, like you said, and these two guys worked pretty well together. It was a pretty decent start to the show. I was kind of interested in what their decision was to have Masada here, but like you said, it's about Roderick Strong going around and just taking everybody on, and that's fine. And I think this is a good way to do it.
I, again, not able to watch ROH. Y'all have to skip me.
Right on. Post-match, we have Bobby Fish coming. He wants a rematch with Strong. And it's quick to point out that Roderick is offering a title match to anyone and everyone except Bobby Fish. And Strong pretty much says, hey man, why can't you just accept defeat? To which Bobby Fish replies with, well, a real man would lace up the boots and just face anyone anytime. So whenever he challenges him again, Strong walks out.
I mean, hadn't Bobby Fish, didn't he get a shot at Jay Lethal too? So, like, he's had a shot at both whoever's been champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has. But this is kind of fun because I thought Fish did a good job here, actually. I actually, talked about, their mic skills and the fact that Red Dragon isn't exactly the guys when it comes to being proficient on the mic at times. I actually didn't mind this at all. And I thought it was funny to Roderick Strong just walk out. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, Bobby Fish, definitely the stronger half on the promo side of Red Dragon. I mean, they're both great in-ring competitors, as I've said many times, but Kyle O'Reilly is just dull as watching paint dry whenever I hear him talk.
Yeah.
Didn't he have the the fish hook or whatever that segment is?
The fish tank, I believe.
Yes. So there you go, Gary. See, he had his own Miz TV.
Yeah, I do remember the fish tank, and it's just I really thought he was that great. I mean, he's okay. He's definitely better than his tag team partner Kyle around, but I just was never still a fan.
Yeah, that's fair. We have another top prospect tournament match. Colby Carino takes on Punisher Martinez. Colby comes up short here in the match. Ends up eating a sick apron powerbomb. And Martinez finally puts him away. I mean, as somebody who had seen Colby Carino wrestle yet, I thought this was a pretty decent first impression.
Yeah, and I haven't watched him wrestle a whole lot, if any. I'm trying to think if I can about seeing one match with him, but it's interesting. You can definitely tell he's been around the wrestling ring, and he's grown up in this thing. But he's so small, he is not intimidating at all, and you almost feel bad for the kid just because he's so tiny. But it is what it is, and I just think it's kind of cool that he got a chance here. But besides that, I mean, you knew who was going to win.
Absolutely. And then we get into the fun stuff. Post-match, BJ Whitmer gets in the ring. He's checking on Colby, grabs the mic. He continues to egg Mr. Wrestling 3 to unmask because he knows it's Steve under there. And he starts trying to get under his skin a little bit in the best of ways, saying he's become a substitute father figure for Colby and all this other stuff that's just really, like, you could tell, even under the mask, Steve is not pleased. And he finally says that he just, if he's not going to unmask, he just can't forgive Steve for everything he's done. So he ends up dropping a whole bunch of exploder suplexes on Colby and just leaves him laying in the ring. They come back during the break and after the break, and Whitmer, they show that Mr. Wrestling 3 is helping Colby to the back. I really enjoyed this angle, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it too. It was kind of, a situation that, you were waiting to see what was going to happen, and I think it worked, though. For me personally, it did. Yeah,
it's a great way to sort of generate sympathy for both Colby and Mr. Wrestling 3 / Steve Carino for whenever we do get this available match. I'm still hoping.
Yeah, and the intrigue that sits there, and I think it's going to make people really care. Whereas they haven't just blown the load and let it all happen right now. They're given an opportunity to kind of see there. It's been there for a long time, but when you finally get it, you're going to love it.
Mm-hmm. They announced next week that All Night Express is taking on War Machine. And then we get into our main event. Red Dragon taking on Adam Cole and Jay Lethal. This is sort of teasing the matches between, or the match between what I'm assuming could be a rematch between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole at the 14th anniversary special. The triple threat, excuse me. What am I thinking? Great match. Another one of the better matches on television this week that sees Red Dragon go over. And just you get some shenanigans in between Lethal and Cole. Lethal accidentally hits the lethal injection on Cole, and O'Reilly pins him after chasing the dragon. But I mean, the finishing stretch here is really what's worth your attention.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just a blast to watch this. And if anybody hasn't had a chance to watch it, you do need to go check this main event out. It's a lot of fun, and both tag teams are great. And I could sit here and talk about all the different spots here, but the most important thing you should know is the fact that it was the main event worth your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, another solid episode for Ring of Honor to build up that the 14th anniversary special they have coming up in February. So
sure. So that is your Ring of Honor, everybody. We are going to move on now. We have to do one more show review, and that is TNA Impact Wrestling. So we'll be right back with that.
TNA Impact Wrestling.
Sean?
All right. Well, TNA here started off with, what do you know? A talking segment, because, TNA is WWE Light. So, Big Money Matt coming out here with Reby and Tyrus. Thankfully, no baby. I particularly would prefer you not have the baby out there, but you do whatever you got to do. Reby Sky, I know, Gary, you kind of agree with me on the whole. It's a little crazy about the baby.
Yeah, not crazy at all about the baby being out there. I just thought to myself, that's a little bit too much, but that's just me. Just like the Matt Hardy's music, it's a little too much on the ridiculous. I hate that. Oh.
But that's the music I don't mind. Like, it's just, that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be stupid because he thinks he's he thinks he's iconic. So, whatever. So he talks about Jeff and that, he does not live in the shadow of his brother and whatever, and all this stuff about Eric Young. So then Eric Young and Bram come out, and, Eric still wants, saying the world title goes through him. I just prefer you not talk, Eric Young, because your voice is grating. And then this is basically your typical, everybody and the frickin' mom comes out. The Decay comes out. Beer Money comes out. Kurt Angle comes out. Like, the Wolves come out. I mean, like, for hell, half the TNA roster comes out here. Yeah, just basically it sets up a 4-team war for later on in the evening. So yeah, that's your opening segment of TNA. The 4-team war match I thought was, or hardcore war, excuse me. There was some fun stuff in there. I didn't think it, these kind of like, they're either really good or they're just kind of okay. I was glad to see that, the heel team won and Team Decay got the win, so that kind of put them over a little bit here. And what'd you think of this, kind of the way they started the show and then the match that kind of went along with that?
The opening promo I thought was fine. Yeah, it overbooked maybe. A lot of people didn't care about maybe, but Matt Hardy's entertaining. He gets this, the big icon role that he's trying to build here. It's entertaining in ROH. It's entertaining here. The match was fine. It went way too long, like 20 minutes. I did not need, but It is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like it dragged along. It was okay. There were moments like Sean was talking about. There were some highlights, but besides that, it kind of dragged along, and I was thinking to myself, okay, how much more of this am I getting to? So,
Yeah, certainly. So, the rest of this here, I mean, and Matt Hardy, I thought did a good job at the beginning too. I'm not gonna the Matt Hardy part was fine. Just when you started getting all the other stuff was a bit weird. Lashley basically squashes Aiden O'Shea so that Raquel could come out there with her purple hair, of course the former Gabby of Tough Enough, and kind of tell him that I'll be your pain or your pleasure or whatever. And Lashley's kind of like sort of interested. So there's that. One of the bigger things on the show was the Maria and Gail Kim segment, where Maria announces that she is officially the savior of the Knockouts division. I thought her and Gail Kim had a very good face-off here. Maria was gold on the microphone here. She brought out the point that, hey, I always come out here with my man trying to accentuate him, but this is about me and about how I think the Knockouts division needs a savior, and I am that savior. And Gail Kim takes issue with that, obviously being the champion. Thought it was well done.
This is probably the main reason why they left Ring of Honor, so Maria had a platform to wrestle in, seeing as Ring of Honor doesn't really have a women's division. I will say that I'm with you, Sean. I enjoyed this very much. Maria and Michael Bennett, they get characters as well. Maria, really strong sort of presence, I think, in the ring. And of course, with Gail Kim, I mean, you can't really go wrong. Maria's not a terrific wrestler. I think Gail Kim might be able to take her somewhere and show her how to grow as a wrestler, hopefully.
Tyrus and Drew Galloway kind of have a face-off where Galloway basically tells him, hey, why aren't you the one going for the title instead of being the one that's always with the guy that's with the title and just being like a prop or being, whoever the champions is, bitch or whatever. They have a match, lasts about 5 minutes. Thought it was okay. Didn't think it was anything too special. Michael Bennett comes out with Maria and just absolutely whacks Galloway in the head with the case so hard that you see the imprint of Galloway's head in the case.
wow. We thought, Kurt Angle had a concussion. This is pretty serious. I know that dent, wow, in that briefcase. But no, I mean, this is interesting to me because of the fact that, we're once again just kind of proving that, Tyrus can get in the ring, but he doesn't have to finish. He can talk and all that, but he doesn't have to worry about that. And I want Tyrus to get in some feuds where he can actually get in the ring and finish them. And which is, this makes sense. I'm not complaining about this specifically, but I just want more out of Tyrus. If they're going to use him, I want them to use him more on a regular basis instead of just a figurehead being a big guy. But I like the storyline, honestly. I like the Michael Bennett and Galloway feud. It's kind of cool.
I'm totally down for a Galloway and Bennett feud. I also echo the sentiment about Tyrus. I think he has a lot to give to promotion. He's a big guy with a lot of wrestling talent. And he made the Funkasaurus work for a time, and shows he knows how to be entertaining. And TNA has him in this constant supporting role instead of being someone out in the forefront they could use and utilize a lot better than they have.
So we have an X Division title. Well, first of all, we have Shane Helms come out here to basically say that he didn't say that the title match would be against him. And it introduces Trevor Lee and about a match that goes less than 5 minutes. Trevor Lee beats Tigre Uno. Thought this was also okay. What'd you guys think?
This is a match that needed more time. I think Tigre Uno and Trevor Lee could have had a really good match, and instead they give the usual 5-minute 8-minute X Division treatment. Which is really, Trevor Lee is a talent they want to accentuate, and I would think you would want to do that by making this feel important. And they seem to continually fail at that.
Yeah, and not only that, for the title to change hands here, for us to believe that Tigre Uno is this magnificent, lucha kind of wrestler, and he can do all these different things, he can survive. This is definitely not enough time. To me, it's on a borderline on believable or not believable. Just because we've seen Tigre Uno overcome bigger, badder issues and bigger, badder people. So I don't know. I'm okay with the victory for Trevor Lee. That's fine. No problem with that at all. I'm appalled that the length of time could have been added. There was plenty of points in the show where I said, "Whoa, this talking is getting overdone. They need to slow down on the talking and more action in the ring." That could have been used here.
Yeah, I did not watch these last two things, the EC3 promo and the main event, because I had to start getting ready for this podcast, so you guys kind of take it away on that.
EC3, my close personal friend, sits down for an interview, and he says he's been reflecting on his loss since it's the first time he's been penned in the 2.5 years he's been with TNA. And he pretty much says that he realizes what a terrible person he's been, and he was that guy because he loved winning so much. In spite of that, he wants to come back, he wants to do the right thing, and he wants to beat the living bejesus out of Matt Hardy. This is an exceptional promo, and one that I would also put on that EC3 highlight reel.
Of course, you're talking about someone who's biased here, Paul, someone who spends a lot of time in that limo drinking champagne with this guy. Of course, you're going to put him over. But I concur. I think that EC3 did a great job here. Is that unusual? No. I mean, it's like saying, Paul Heyman's on the mic. I mean, duh. So, I mean, this is normal, and this is fine. And EC3 is just one of the best guys at this right now. One of the better guys in this entire wrestling business, not just in TNA. We're talking about the entire business on the mic. So I think great stuff out of him.
Absolutely. Main event is Matt Hardy defending the TNA World title against Kurt Angle. A fair match, not anything I think to especially big to write home about. Matt Hardy cheats to win, of course. He's got the whole team out there with him, and that's pretty much how he gets the win.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to win by nefarious means. We knew that would probably happen. Okay, it's whatever. But, at least Kurt Angle gets an opportunity here, and I think that's what was exciting for everybody. And, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And I think that, we'll definitely see better things out of both guys. But right now, I mean, this is the way that they're going. And I didn't have a problem with it. I really didn't. I was okay with it. So there you go. The one thing I do want to bring up before we get out of TNA, because that concludes your TNA episode, but one thing we didn't cover in quick hits is that Kurt Angle got a concussion over in the UK, and it was with Bobby Lashley. And so, that being said, this is something where he has to take some time away. Now, I'm unclear, and Paul, you may have to correct me. Is he actually close to being done with his retirement tour with TNA?
I don't know. I haven't been reading a lot of the spoilers for TNA recently, so I would think so. I don't know how much they're going to try to get out of the retirement tour, to be honest with you. Because they only have so many big guys that he can really wrestle before he hangs them up.
Yeah. I was just curious. I think that's something we'll have to follow. I just, I know concussions are serious, and I know that could put a guy on the shelf for 2-3 weeks, if not more, depending on how severe it is. So, that could definitely affect his touring and any other things he had planned, at least in the ring. So, but that's TNA Impact, everybody. We hope you enjoyed that. We only have one more thing left to do, and that is crowning Superstar of the Week. We'll do that next.
Superstar of the Week.
All right,
All
I
right,
think
guys.
we kind of just need to go in the emphasis of time.
Yes.
Just go with the 5 that we selected as a group and not go
Yep.
around the horn this time.
You read my mind, Sean. Thank you. Okay, guys. We got Trevor Lee getting 1 point here. Then our second guy's going to get 2 points is, of course, Roderick Strong. And at 3 points, Mr. Finn Balor earned that in that match in NXT against Apollo Crews. Nakamura gets 4 points because he had a great farewell match there and great send-off, of course. And our 5-pointer this week is Matt Hardy himself, retaining his title and, of course, doing a pretty good job doing it. I mean, it wasn't a terrible match or anything, and him and Kurt Angle put on a pretty good show. So that is our list. What do you guys think about it? Do you think anybody stands out?
I mean, Matt Hardy defending his title. The other time he got points was for winning the title, so it wasn't the greatest match in the world, but he still defended the title, and that gets you points. I mean, Nakamura, that we already outlined everything that happened there. It was great. So.
And Paul, I mean, Trevor Lee gets on our list. He gets a point, but at least a point. Do you have any feelings this guy's going to get back on our point system, or is it like a one-time thing?
I certainly hope so, but for that to happen, TNA is really going to have to reinvest in that X division some more. They wouldn't be doing this angle with Helms and Lee unless they had something planned. So hopefully we do get the big match between him and Uno or somebody that really lets this guy stand out.
All right, so that means our wrestler of the month for January is Matt Hardy.
Wow. That's great. How many points does he get?
He beats Nakamura by 2 points for... he has 10 points.
Okay. So. Awesome. Wow, there you go, guys. There's your first wrestler of the month, Matt Hart. All right, guys. Well, we have had a big...
I guess our match of the month would be Okada and Tanahashi, unless we have... From Wrestle Kingdom, unless we have any...
I can't think of any bigger one than that.
Yeah, I mean, can't think of one better either.
Yeah, for sure. So.
All right, so there we go.
All right, guys. Now, well, that is our Superstars of the Week, month, and all that. So, and of course, match of the month. Well, guys, we've had a lot of fun. We kind of a little show here, but we had a lot to cover this week. We definitely had a blast doing it, though. Next week, we'll have some other great stuff for you. Of course, we'll be reviewing New Beginning. That was something that we were kind of talking about earlier, so make sure you check out that. Plus, we'll cover Raw, ROH, TNA, Lucha Underground, all the shows we always cover. And, of course, we'll do some other things, probably some more topics and big news pieces we'll have for you next week. But we have some other shows on the W2M network that we want to plug real quick. So, Sean, go ahead and do that.
Well, we're probably still doing our Part 2 preview for the Super Bowl 50 that happens on Sunday. Talking about some signing day stuff and some news. May do the corporate multiplayer podcast tomorrow at some point. There's a new backlog busting up there. I just put it up last night, so you can check that out. Randy's video game podcast that he does, and Running Wild podcast should have a new one on Saturday. And Harry and Patrick are going to do PWG's Tremendous 1 on Friday, barring any setbacks, instead for this week because Sunday being the Super Bowl and everything. So, yeah, looks like all the shows are coming along. Great. And, of course, Raw Reaction took a week off because Harry was feeling bad. And go check out that TWE After Dark with Mr. Steven Randall, of course, on Saturdays, midnight Eastern.
Lots of great shows for you guys to go check out. No reason for you to miss any of them. Go subscribe to the W2M Network, and they'll all be ready for you to listen to the day they come out. So don't forget that. Please go rate and review. It helps us. Give us 5 stars, 4 stars, but, 5 stars would be nice. And, of course, don't forget to review. So we really appreciate you guys listening and checking out. One last thing we're going to do is Super Bowl predictions. So I'm going to start with you, Paul. Who do you got?
I would be ill-advised and totally wrong to vote against my Broncos. So I'm going to say Broncos. I imagine it's probably going to be a pretty high-scoring game, so I'm going to go Broncos 35-31 over Carolina.
All right, John.
Oh, man, I hate putting on the spot. I'd already picked the Broncos not to beat the team. I had Arizona playing the Broncos. Glad the Broncos at least made it. It's just, man, this is going to be rough because, you don't know what Peyton Manning you're going to get, and Carolina's been so dominant all year. I hate to do this, but I'm going to say Carolina 24, Denver 21.
Okay, fair enough. And we're kind of close there, Sean. I don't want to do it either because I'm definitely be rooting for those Broncos. It's just because, I'm a Peyton Manning guy. I like him.
Plus
and
D-Ware, want to see him win a championship.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason, not because I
And Wade
hate anybody
Phillips.
Yeah, exactly. From my mom's hometown. So, needless to say, it's not because I hate the Panthers. I think I love those guys too. They're awesome. But, gotta have one to root for. I'm gonna go Panthers, though. I'm sorry, I have to do it. 27-10. That's the way I'm looking at this score. So, well, we hope everybody is safe, has a blast watching the Super Bowl, enjoy it, and make sure you're here next Thursday. If you want to be live Thursday night, if you want to be with us on demand Friday morning, come check us out, and we'll have all your wrestling stuff ready for you and in your ear. So, all right, guys, always remember, if you're not living life to the max,
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.